Yes, sir. Give me that.
No, it's consideration.
Well, you're looking at home.
Yeah. All right, roll call. Annie,
Here.
Michelle,
Give me
Brett,
Here.
Jason.
Here.
And Tim.
Present.
You might have any changes on the agenda. Are you on here or you're not on here? Okay.
I wanted to be added for department reports. You put me after Lisa.
Guys, you're gonna have to speak up. Nobody can hear you.
Does that work?
I don't know that. I mean, can we add some time to talk about a city marshal and their continuing business as well?
Sure. You want to do that after Todd?
Yeah.
Put your name down, Jason, so you can lead that discussion.
Okay.
Anybody else? Need a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda with those additions.
What were the additions, please? We couldn't hear you.
Let's see. Brett Kimball wants to be added under department reports. Todd Leckman has something he wants to share under continuing council business, and so does Jason. Jason's in reference to a town marshal.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jason to accept to approve the agenda with the additional 3 items, seconded by Annie. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Those in favor? That motion carries.
I'm gonna approve the minutes.
Second.
Have a motion by Brett to approve the city council meeting minutes of March 24th, seconded by Jason. Any further comments, questions, concerns? Those in favor? Motion carries. Appropriations ordinance.
I move to approve the appropriations ordinance number 1530.
I'll second.
Motion by Jason to approve the appropriation ordinance 1530, seconded by Michelle. Any further questions, concerns, or comments? It's a roll call vote. Annie,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Jason,
Yes.
and Tim.
Yes.
Motion carries. Okay, at this time, public comments and concerns. Who wants to go first?
Okay, I will. As most of you know, either by TV or by Eskridge Watch or by word of mouth, I've once again my store's once again been vandalized and tried to be robbed. Luckily, the back door was formidable and hung together. I want to tell you that this is, let's see, I've had 2 bullet holes shot in my windows since I've been there. One of them was for sure a pellet gun. The other one, I don't know what it was. It's probably a pellet gun too. Those were young people that the parents took care of that situation. I did turn it into the city years, into Elma though. My window was smashed with a mental health crisis because he needed 2 packs of cigarettes, and so he smashed my front window. And that person, when they were well, they did restitution with me completely because they were actually friends of mine. The second robbery was more serious. They got quite a bit of money, and which is why We have a safe now, which is still not covered by insurance, so if, you know, we try and take most of it down to the bank just in case anybody thinks I might have a lot of money at the store. I don't. And this last time was on the night when we had that bad lightning storm where the electricity went out, and that's when they chose to get into my store because my cameras were affected by the loss of electricity. I put a lot of money into security, into cameras. We're going to do some more stuff. I have an IT guy that's got everything covered. They still got past the cameras before the electricity went out because they went over the roof and down the guttering, jumping probably onto my air conditioner and down to the ground because there was about this much space where the camera didn't show, but I catch animals coming out the back of my store, raccoons, but he wasn't on there. And then you can tell at 2:37, that's when they pulled that camera off. Which was unfortunate because I had a good light back there that shows a lot and came on. So this is why I'm here, and I'm not going to talk any more about it because I know that you have Officer Williams here who's going to probably talk to you about, once again, affording a law enforcement in this town. Also, I've heard that some of your cameras are off. Have you got them fixed?
They're not fixed as
Are
of
they
yet.
outside lights, outside or inside?
Outside.
They're outside.
Mhm.
And I've talked to 2 employees to try to fix that, and they just haven't found the time yet, so.
That's one of the biggest things that we need in this community are cameras that record people's license plates and other deeds being done. The person that smashed my windows and shot my windows out were caught on that camera on this building. So I sure hope we get that taken care of soon. I'm very disappointed to hear that. That's all.
Okay.
What
Carrie.
she said. I would like to add to the rural law enforcement. Originally, I was for the idea, but one thing I hadn't heard between can we afford it and we need it, is that going to be an effective solution? So I did some scholarly research and studies, and this is what I found. If anybody wants the names of those studies, I'll get them for them. But one police officer, or even 2, will not deter crime. Even in urban areas, law enforcement doesn't necessarily deter crime. Just simply because of a police presence. Police presence has to span time and space so that you've got a lot of people in a lot of places at all times. In order to have any statistical effect on deterrence. The law enforcement's job isn't necessarily to deter crime. Its job is to respond to crimes committed. So even if we had a officer and she's getting robbed and they're down at that area, may or may not get caught. You know, I mean, nobody saw that he was down there, except for, I remember when Mark was here, my boys always knew where the policeman was. Everybody did. You know, if he was at the school, if he was down on the east side of town, they all knew where the one cop was.
Reminds me, I'm going to interrupt you just very briefly, Carrie. Hold your thoughts. Reminds me of the lake at Lake Wabunsee, resident at Lake Wabunsee who has a relative that works for the Kansas Wildlife and Parks. And every time her relative comes to Lake Wabunsee, she has a phone line that calls literally everybody at Lake Wabunsee to warn them the officers on the way. So you're right.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I
sort
mean,
of things.
my kids used to listen to their
Yeah.
CB, or their,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
they used to listen to their little things to find out what was going on. So, concentrated presence can be substantial for violent crimes, but most of our crimes are property, drugs, domestic violence, and those kinds of things. And it really doesn't show an impact. The idea of the impact of having a police officer is, as a deterrence, is to provide a threat of punishment and slow crime, or a perceived increase of apprehension. And that's supposed to stop that. But even if deterred, the pressure to arrest or ticket people becomes important to the policeman, because city council's like, are you doing your job? Well, I deterred. Yeah, but I'm not seeing any actual ticket or arrest or whatever. And so that's an erroneous way to gauge whether the cop's being effective or not. Let's see. There are unique challenges in rural areas, limited budgets, resource constraints, geographic isolation, personal relationships, perceived social status of citizens that they may have bias towards because, you talk to them or whatever. Limited access to training, demand of their time, juggling multiple roles. It can provide longer response times, and there's no help during time off. What they did find was that the best deterrents were essential programs like community engagement, neighborhood watch, citizen advisory boards, collaboration between citizens, engaging with shelters, addiction centers is imperative, transparency with citizens, social media, community meetings, positive relationships, youth engagement, actively seeking input from citizens for local intelligence, because there's a whole lot of people that know a whole lot around here, right? And they found that the traditional methods fall short. The simple presence does not deter. Then I start thinking about the cost effectiveness, because there are hidden costs. For example, you would want a body cam because that protects the city from liability, right? Are you willing to pay for that? I remember Mark doing a bake sale. We had been here, so this was about probably 2003, to get a bulletproof vest because the city at that time would not pay for it. You have to be willing to invest in them to have them do their jobs. Technology, access to databases, training, money for these programs, that all takes time and money. It's not just about a person driving around, which I kind of wish it had been, but it's not. So when I looked at this, my thought process was, I know that the sheriff's department has been engaging with communities. And if we could actively seek them to work with citizens, they have all those resources. And if not, they know how to get them. And we might not. We don't know whatever police officer and develop a deeper allyship with them. That just makes more sense to me than, because even if you were to hire a sheriff's officer to work when they're off duty, first of all, they're tired, and second of all, are you using their equipment? Are you using the sheriff's department's
I
equipment?
think Sergeant Williams is going to talk about
Yeah.
that here in a few minutes.
Several times.
So anyway, those
So
are
do
just
you have any solutions to those fundraising ideas, Carrie, that you can share with all that research you've done?
fundraising ideas.
Well, to come up with,
Those were the problems, and the point is that most rural, but I'm sure we could think of fundraising.
Yeah.
If that
all right. Thank you. And I, what you said about the Wabunsee County Sheriffs, the last few years, they have really been visual in Eskridge than they have in a long time. And if anybody came to the meeting around 6:30, they would have seen a deputy had somebody pulled over 2 blocks east of town on the main highway. And so that obviously means that they're doing something. I've seen them out here as late as 11 o'clock at night with people pulled over.
And I like the idea of neighborhood watches.
And I do too, but here's the other thing too. Because they have such a vast square footage of Wabunsee
Yeah.
County to cover, they don't have the officers to be at every street corner in every
Right.
community in the county. So all they can do is respond.
Which is their job
Well,
in the long run.
and all we can do is be witnesses to whatever might be going on. As an example, I recall not too long ago, like in the last year and a half, we were getting ready for bed and I went to shut a curtain and I saw a flashlight outdoors. So I looked outside, and across the street, whose neighbor was not home at the time, there's a flashlight going all over the yard, and it looked like a pickup truck was shining light. They were looking for something. I had no idea what was going on, but I called it in. A deputy came out. Now, was he there in 5 minutes? No, more like 20 to 30 minutes because the deputy was on the other side of the county. But the fact is, he showed up and he confronted the people, and come to find out, it happened to be, if I may say so, the person was related to somebody here in this room. And he was there because he had been working in his daughter's yard and left something there, and they came back to look for it and get it. It's a very simple misunderstanding, but I tell you what, it was spooky seeing these flashlights floating around out there. And my wife would tell you, I was out in the yard watching what was going on because I didn't know when the sheriff's going to come up or how they're going to get away, that sort of thing, but they will respond. And that's a good thing that I'm seeing here.
And I think response times with a police officer living in town could be just as long when they're in bed.
Yeah, just because they're in town doesn't mean they'll be there in 5 minutes.
Right.
And if they're not on call, they might not be allowed to come out anyway.
And we've
Has to be
been
somebody
victimized.
else.
I mean, I completely get it. We're robbed several times.
So before I ask Deputy Williams to speak, I want to know if anybody else has anything on public comments that they want to talk about before we get into that.
I just want to say something real fast on what she was saying. Have we thought maybe of something like, kind of like what you see at Walmart? Like there's companies out there that have armed and unarmed security guards, and they're trained to do so. And what basically their job is to observe and report. So then I don't know the cost side of it, but the company I'm thinking of specifically is called Titan. They're out of Kansas City, and they provide company vehicles that somebody could be patrolling the neighborhood at different shifts, and they could witness maybe something that's going on and have a little bit better information with vehicle cameras and all that jazz that could give Officer Williams here a better idea of who to be looking for.
Okay, Jason might be touching base on that. It's on the agenda later on. When he's talking about a town marshal, so there might be information he'll have for us at that point. Okay, thank you, Josh. Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm new to the area. My name is Mike Cruz. I recently retired from the Topeka Police Department about 2 years ago. I was wondering if there's been any collaboration or thoughts on utilizing SEPTED, crime prevention through environmental design to make harder targets of your businesses. The use of technology. I heard somebody mention cameras, but specifically something like pole cameras that would be operated by the sheriff's department down alleys or awkward areas. Like she said, I'll echo it, is the sheriff's department, from what I understand, is pretty stretched thin for the area that they have to cover. And they're only going to be as strong. So also, has there been any collaboration in using resources like crime analysis, where you understand where your crime's occurring, when and identifying it with your known bad actors and marrying that up in building cases?
As far as I know, there has not been any studies done like that in Eskridge that would tell us that information.
Okay.
And as far as the private company goes, that's something we can look at as well. That hasn't been brought up before, so appreciate you doing that, bringing that up. And I'm sorry.
I just had one comment. If you go into thinking about hiring off-duty sheriff's officers or something along those lines, if something were to happen, God forbid, whose insurance would be paying for the fallout?
I think Sergeant Williams will be able to answer that. If we go with the Wabunsee County Sheriff's Department, I think all we're doing is paying the salary, and they're covering the vehicles, the uniforms, the insurance, the retirement, the bullets, the life vests, radios, all that equipment that the city of Eskridge would not have to pay for. That is a big plus in using them, and I'm pretty sure their insurance will be the one that takes care of that too.
It just seems funny to me or odd to me that if a county is already paying for services, why would a city be paying additional for additional services?
I can address that.
Okay, I'll let him. All right, Sergeant Williams.
All right, good evening. How's everybody?
Excited.
Excited? All right, everybody needs to put a smile on. Okay. I've been here coming up on 5 years, living here in Eskridge. And I can say that the part, well, you'll be recorded now too. I know that only one party has to know that. Anyway, a little humor there, but it's true. And I've seen a vast improvement between the community and law enforcement. Okay. I want to tell you the difference between a fireman and a law enforcement officer is a fireman or the fire department, yes, definitely responds. That's their job. My job as a law enforcement officer is to proactively seek out criminal elements and deal with them. And nobody's going to break into the building that my vehicle right now is parked in or parked in front of because Luna the canine's in there. Okay, I'm kidding. She really is in there, but she ain't gonna. But that vehicle being there is a visible deterrent. When I walk downtown at nighttime checking doors, sometimes I find them open and we contact the key holder. Just the other night, a point of sale area was unlocked. And right across the street was an individual that dropped stolen items off at my porch because I visibly got in front of the house where the burglary occurred and took pictures. I then got a Facebook message. I know who it is. I said, I want the little girl's purse, shoes, jacket, and wallet returned. The individual that was using the Wi-Fi was like 1 o'clock in the morning, was the one that bicycled them up to my porch and dropped them off. So respectfully, a visible presence helps. As far as response time, we have unattended death and get called to Wabunzie Town near Wamego. Even running code, maybe 30 minutes. Okay. But I did want to point out that the relationship between you all and us is greatly improved. In just a short time that I've lived here, I believe we've developed a good relationship because I remember the flashlights. And I also remember that it was totally innocent. But I also remember another incident right in front of your house. Took a
Yep, I remember
guy
that
with
one
a
too.
warrant into custody.
And almost arrested somebody else the same spot.
So it does help
Yeah.
for us to be here. The city marshal program financially, I mean, I pay taxes here. I live here. Don't know that it's feasible. I forget the phrase that's off of Paul Blart. What was it you said? Observe and report.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch the FBI shootout in Miami back in 1986, I watched a armored car driver get shot with a shotgun. And a guy that was observing and reporting followed those two men that was eventually taken care of while the guard lay there bleeding out. So it's fine to observe and report. I prefer to be proactive. Okay. Doesn't mean I can be every place all the time, but I know myself and every other deputy that I work with is dedicated to all the citizens of Wabunzie County, regardless of where they live. We're here to help. But cameras, I don't know where y'all can see that. That little pickup flew through Maple Hill at about 85 miles per hour at 5. By then it was like 5:25 in the morning. That's Maple Hill camera that captured it. I was a quarter mile behind them. They jumped there at Old Stone Church between that and Waterman Cross Hazard. Cool thing is they ran into the ditch and wrecked, and I have their tool bag. They flew out the back of the truck, and I can see fingerprints. So that's a good thing. Cameras will help. Okay. And that's one benefit of them. Okay. The cameras we have here have helped me. I forget the gentleman's name. He's now in prison. I had a stolen vehicle at DRB Express, and that photograph was instrumental in him going to prison. In just from about the middle of January until now, in and around Eskridge, 10 arrests, 194 calls for service.
Wow.
That includes 49 traffic stops. The only thing that those stats do not include are the civil process or giving court documents. As a taxpayer, I don't believe, I say I don't believe, I don't know what the finances look like in the city. I haven't dug. In my opinion, now Sheriff Kirsch told me he will be here. All right. When he was under sheriff, it's been presented at least twice to try to do something. But I believe the citizenry is at the point to where you would like something done. And I believe that our city council members, our city attorney, and our mayor are also on board with that ideal that we need to do something. And you just simply have to figure out what will work. I'm not opposed to a private security, except for the fact you get what you pay for. And I see the Walmart security, and they're out of Kansas City. And I wouldn't want my wife being assaulted or my children, and then they observe and report. And I'm just not knocking. I hope you understand I'm not knocking on you. But it takes more than observing and reporting. That's the role of community watches. But I can guarantee you, if there were people, citizens, that formed a community watch, that would help. Okay, but you can only observe and report. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to throw the few stats for in and around S is a lot. Okay. We have 800 square miles. We try to be very proactive. We don't just sit and drink coffee. Yes, sir.
I know, for an example, I don't know if you're aware, in Shawnee County, we have an instance where our sheriff's department is kind of budgeted and works for the area of Lake Sherwood.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I understand we have a reserve program. Is that something at a lesser cost? Because I agree, I don't think private security is the answer at all. I think you're opening yourself up to a real big headache. But is that something where the reserve program could also, assist in their own budget through a small stipend by patrolling this area?
It could. That would be something for the sheriff to address.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be a reserve officer in the city of Harper, Kansas. Anybody know where that is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, she doesn't. That was another lifetime. Okay. But I had full arrest powers. I operated under the authority of the chief of police in the city of Harper, and I rode with a sworn officer. Okay, the difference between what sworn is I am sworn in, and I'm empowered through the state of Kansas with arrest powers. Okay, and it's not something to be taken lightly. Okay, security guard is not going to be a sworn officer. All right. Contracts with the sheriff's office to pay a certain amount of money, and you get back a certain amount of hours each month. There has to be a presence of a deputy for, let's just say, 20 hours a month, and you figure out what you're going to pay for that. I know when I was in Dickinson County, we had 4 contract cities. we were required to be in those cities, in the city limits. I think it was 80 hours a month. But granted, Dickinson County, we had a lot more resources. Okay. Hiring off-duty deputies, that's also a possibility. You just have to work it out with the sheriff, you know. I'm welcome to answer any questions you might have. If I don't know the answer, I'll tell you.
How many guys do you have? In the
Total?
sheriff's department?
Or you mean out at any one time?
Well, total, or yeah, both. Yeah.
Total, approximately 12.
Not very much, is it?
And
But you
And
do
it's
that
it's
sometimes,
actually less than that, because if you take away detention or correction staff and stuff like that, the number's lower. We do have one deputy in the FTO, Field Training Officer Program. He will be fully okay. We don't just send him to the academy and then say, oh, okay, go do great things. They have to ride with a seasoned deputy for a certain amount of time and meet requirements before they're let out on their own. Okay. Because we want our people to handle things the right way, you know, and have good verbal skills. Okay. I'm still working on mine a lot, but I depend on that, because I'm not of the mindset that I pull you over and you got a warrant, I'm slamming you on the car. Okay. Now, if you force me to, you know, but we operate and I'm not saying other places don't, but we try to be the type of law enforcement officers that has a good relationship with our communities. Okay. And there again, I'm not saying any other places don't. I'm just saying I know how we operate.
If so if they decided to work with you guys on that 20 or 80 a month, would you guys recommend how many? And should they vary it? I mean, if everybody knows that he gets here from 6 to 10 every
We're not gonna
Tuesday,
do
or
that.
you know,
We're not gonna do that.
Okay.
I just wonder if they have the right.
She does have a good point. When I come into town, I don't always come down the hill. I will take Sanford. And sometimes I will black out and I'll get out of my unit and I'll walk up into the downtown area because my headlights are bright. Some of y'all have flashed me thinking I've got high beams on. And it's not that we're being sneaky, but if they know where we're at, that's like when we had the problem with the old school. Kids would be up on the top and you can see all over Eskridge from up there.
Beautiful up there.
By the way, it's dangerous in that building. Please don't attempt that. We try not to advertise our presence unless we want to be advertised. I personally like the Eskridge watch page. Some people don't. Okay. That gives me some information. Just keep the community involvement and engagement going. We have new people moving into the area. I would like to see new businesses and see these buildings in use, but people are not going to invest. By the way, maybe y'all are rolling fat with a lot of money. I'm not. But if I were to open a business down here, I wouldn't want to feel like I have to be there 24/7 because it's going to get broken into. But we need more businesses.
Oh, I did 3 of them so far, so you know.
Well, you can always do
I'm
4.
retired. Well, no, I'm retired on this one.
Slacking, Dolly.
All right, his hand up and then yours, sir.
Kind of 3 things here. Does the department have set-fed certification with any of that?
I'm not familiar with that.
It's crime prevention through environmental design.
Probably that would be a question for the sheriff.
Okay.
He's very up to speed on.
I know Kale at GC is pushing it,
Mhm.
and has for quite a few years. Second, do you use crime grid or crime analysis mapping to address and adjust schedules and control activity?
We adjust. Okay, I adjust myself. Okay, if I know because I'm a big proponent of a Terry stop. If we have a recent burglary and there's vehicles in that area at weird times, I'm going to stop them. And I am also very cautious of people's rights. Okay. When we have activity going on, I try to be there, but I'm one person. Okay. Your hand went up too.
Comment I was gonna ask on is hiring an off-duty officer. What is off-duty? I mean, how do we avoid making any one or multiple individuals fatigue? Because as soon as they're done working here, they've got to go back to work.
Easiest way, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was done. You're right.
Okay. Easiest way is a sign up sheet is if I put one in the deputies area, and I'd say these are the times that the city of Eskridge would like to have an officer, or these are days. And then deputies can sign up on their off time. Yeah, I can guarantee you, like, I get off sometimes at 6 a.m. because I'm still night shift. I can guarantee you I wouldn't sign up for a 7 o'clock to 5 p.m. To work here in the city of Eskridge. I just couldn't do it.
I know from living in Topeka, right across the street, we had a sign that said it was neighborhood watch, and we had some elderly people that they could tell you in a mile radius. So plotting or figuring out where certain areas could be lit and possibly installing cameras and getting some of those signs and getting everybody on board.
Signs are cheap. Okay, when I say cheap, let me use inexpensive. Okay, they're an inexpensive way to advertise somebody's watching, because if somebody is watching, people are going to be less apt to misbehave.
And that's assuming somebody's watching. You don't just put up a sign.
All right,
Right.
Nick,
Well-
years ago, we started, we've got the Eskridge Watch that came out of the neighborhood watch. And so we had a few meetings, and there's a lot of people in this town that have cameras now because of that information that we got from our sheriffs at the time. And so we don't have a lot of meetings and all that anymore. But it seems like people are conversing more, and there's a lot of cameras. And I know that the one time that that guy broke into my place, Eric, sheriff, went all over this town looking at everybody's cameras, and he got the license plate off that guy that lived in Harrington, who had a good job at the plant up there, and he was driving back and forth. And when he drove back and forth, he broke into a whole bunch of little places like mine, and they got him, and he's in prison right now. Because I didn't want restitution, I wanted revenge, and he's in prison.
You wanted justice.
When he gets well,
Better word.
I know, but at the time it was. I just looked at, and Eric, sheriff Eric, was happy as punch when I said, no, I want restitution when he gets out. And I said, I want him in prison now, because he must have liked it, because he had just been in prison for 8 years for doing the same thing. So I guess sometimes our prison times are, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but
we're gonna need to move on, so I'm gonna allow one more question.
No, I'm
okay?
done.
If we can get away with one more question, that'd be great.
Yes, sir.
I just want to reiterate the sign. Helped take myself here 20-some years ago. Implemented the lock it, remove it, or lose it program in Topeka. Most of the signs up. Our car burglars went down at least 10%, which is significant for Topeka.
Signs are good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, thing I'd like to add, as a homicide investigator, one of the things that really benefited me is having a detailed list of who had Ring doorbells and so forth, because that would add to video footage.
I'm a proponent of Ring. I have them. Okay. And they help.
Yes.
Yes,
They really do. Okay. Hey, I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor,
Thank
thank you. I'm easy to reach. Y'all know where I live. and I usually try to be here as often as I can.
For those that have forgotten, yours is the house that's been TP'd and egged.
No.
It has not.
Oh, well, you haven't seen it in
Oh,
the
you
last
didn't
5
look?
minutes, have you?
While you were here.
Yeah, we checked the rate. Hey, God bless you all.
Thank you. Okay, that was all about the burglary issues. Does somebody have any other comments not related to that? Finish up the 5 minutes of public concerns. Okay, all right. We're gonna move on. Robin Baker. Robin? See what? Okay. All right, let's go to Sally then while we're waiting on Robin to come back in. Miguel Hernandez, is he here tonight?
I can't see everybody.
Yeah.
They want to put a cement slab. You guys should have copies of this.
I'll be after Robin's stuff.
Yeah, that's an Amy. Or Amy. They want to put a slab there, as I showed you on the picture. That little green box is their shed, and it's going to be from the edge of the house to that shed, and then they're going to fix the sidewalk from the house to their fence. There she is.
Can you finish this particular one with the Robin? Okay.
I'll move to approve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no big.
Who seconded that?
I didn't say anything, but I'm with you.
Motion to approve the building permit for Miguel by Brett, seconded by Tim. Further questions, comments, concerns?
No, it's Miguel.
Miguel.
Mhm.
Those in favor? Motion carries. And now we're gonna go back to Robin. Robin, Chris Bay dock permit.
Yes, they want to tear out that deck. And I didn't put anything out. iPad, we think it's full. My iPad, and it's not transferring the data to the computers. I don't know. Sally even messed with it. She thought it was full. And we did a new one. So I'm not adding pictures or anything for you, but I can tell you that whatever you approve it is for the better on everything. That deck is rotten. And Eric, are you here?
Yeah.
Eric's doing the work on it. They're making it smaller, actually, reducing the size of it.
Yeah, it looks like your note says they're replacing an oversized dock with one that's 20 by 20.
Correct.
It's a deck and a dock.
Yeah, both.
Two items.
Yeah,
Okay.
two things, same property owner.
Okay.
We don't have any extra added.
The dock is oversized right now, and so is the,
Nothing that they're not.
I don't know if you guys have oversized on the deck, but it's ginormous. It's like
Okay.
35 by 26.
Holy cow.
Monstrosity.
And it's,
And steps and it's
yeah,
a mess.
it's
So you're taking
it's
the
a
deck,
danger zone,
deck down to
danger
20 by
zone.
20.
It's 20 by 20 with a little offset on that drawing
Oh,
where the stairs is, so it's
okay. And then the dock's going back
20
into.
by 24.
Yeah,
No boat slip, just a
Solid.
platform dock.
I'll move to approve 439 Lakeshore Drive.
Second.
Okay, motion to approve the dock permit at 439 Lakeshore Drive by Brett, seconded by Jason. Further comments, questions, concerns?
And that's both the deck and the dock, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Those in favor? Motion carries. Gerald and Deborah Boozer.
Boozer. They just wanna put some steps on their property going down to their dock. And I don't see a problem with that either.
No more than 4 feet, right?
You've been out there, Brad. I know you've been out there. The mayor's been out there. I've been out there.
No more than
It's
4 feet
dangerous.
wide.
It's dangerous.
I think it's noted. It's a big
Interpretation.
I'll move
Is
to
it 4
approve.
feet wide?
Measured the dock.
Yes.
Have you measured your dock?
No, Brett took those measurements. I don't know exactly where they're at. Is it oversized?
No.
That's good.
It's good.
You told me before, Brett.
Nobody
Did it change?
yet.
Okay.
Brett, did it change since you measured it before?
No. It has not changed.
Because before you told me it was oversized.
It has not changed. It has not changed. No.
It's not oversized, too. I was going by his word. I haven't been out there to measure it.
I think
Because we don't have a second.
the initial
I'll
issue
second.
you're talking about was an oversized dock. It was a different location.
No, you were talking about where it is right now.
No, it's good.
Okay.
Motion by Brett to approve the permit for 307 East Split Mills Drive, seconded by Jason. Further comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, is it?
I thought it was 254.
There's two addresses. Is it just
They
my
have
seven?
254 Pond
Okay.
Road.
307 is the
Okay.
residence, and
All right.
254 is where the
254 is
My
where,
bad.
okay,
where the steps will be.
okay.
Ponderosa
Those
Court.
are just
I see it.
vacant.
Ponderosa Court.
Just checking.
Those in favor? Motion carries. Approved.
So the stumps, the next one, Mr. Hummer, and I was out last August after the storm and took pictures of these stumps, and he was trying to get somewhere then, so I don't know what the holdup is on that, but it does need to be removed.
Why?
He said, on his note, he said he talked to Mike Bone about it, but he has not heard from anybody since, or whatever, so.
So it said it tore up the metal seawall, which I don't know if.
But that metal seawall's not permitted anyway, so.
Yeah, I didn't, that's why I was wondering about that. Whatever that is.
It goes by a lot of properties right there, but it's not a permitted one. It's just done, be it years ago or not.
We actually have an easement right beside where the stump's at. Pretty trashed. Maybe I can clean it. Oh, and there's a dock floating down I call it the South Bridge.
It's a different issue, is it not?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right, what does the council want to do about the tree stump?
Is it an issue?
It's pretty ugly.
It's not gonna fall on the dock.
Sure enough.
When it gets taken out, if it's going to cause more erosion.
Sure will.
Because it looks behind it.
To be clear, he's wanting just the stump removed or the sea wall, the unpermitted seawall
The
fixed.
stump, it's definitely an eyesore. If I lived there, I would want it out as well. I'm just saying.
If they to remove,
I mean, do
have
you
the tree
have to?
removed,
Probably
I
not.
would like the city to remove the stuff.
Anything else?
So just this note that
In our
damage.
conversation with him, I wanted to be clear that
Maybe a machine.
Can't get anything. I mean,
Make a decision.
I think you did.
Haven't heard it.
Well, when you choose not to make a decision, you've made a decision.
Okay, so no actions taken then, huh?
Yep. You did not choose not to choose. You still made a choice.
I could see trimming it down some, but not removing the whole thing.
Okay, moving on. Sally, you're up again. Anything else, Robert, for our attorney?
Yes, we have a dock floating down at the South Bridge. It's just floating there. Pretty good sized dock.
You got a number on it?
We haven't got that.
Not that I can see.
We haven't got past.
By a boat, maybe.
We wanted to jump down here.
I thought he was after me.
Why don't you get our water, why don't you get our boat that's out the lake and go out there and tie a rope to it and pull it back to the bait house?
Because that boat is inoperable.
Oh, it's still not working after 3 years?
No, as a matter of fact, the same storm we're talking about knocked over the shed that it sat in, and it's just like laying on the boat. And it's a disaster out there.
It hasn't been cleaned up either, huh? Wow, okay. All right, let's move on. Okay, Sally, your last
You
one.
guys got in the packet, Marcia's got 3 trees that she wants taken out. They're like just west of 10-1. Here's some more pictures I didn't get in the packets. That's hollow in the center and they're dying out.
Oh, that's a better picture.
She wants to know if the city will take them out.
The third one. The third one is the best one.
I haven't seen any put in my yard, but it's now.
You already looked at them?
Yep.
What's your thoughts on the conditions of the trees, Sally?
They're half dead. And they, they're rotting out in the center.
And with the way the winds have been, that's an accident waiting to happen.
There's a lot of, it's dead branches, and if we get a bad windstorm from the north, a couple of these will land on their vehicles.
That's the one that's got that drippy stuff around. I can't remember the name of it. Down at the bottom, it has like a pool
I
of
didn't
stuff.
see any drippy stuff.
It's like one of the front trees. I'll have to show you sometime, but anyway, I know that spreads. So.
So we need to have the guys, when they have time, take these trees down.
Well, Robin and I are gonna go look at them too, if you guys want them down, and see what we can do.
That might be the way to go.
The city's been trimming the one before I purchased the property. They've been trimming it on a regular basis to keep it out of the street, but it's dying and they're just trimming the dead part that fell down or what little tiny bit was still growing. And they've been doing it for a while because I kept hearing people griping about a tree and they'd call to get it trimmed and it would get trimmed and I never knew where it was until I decided to buy the property that's been neglected for 20 years and that's the tree they've been trimming all that time and it's dying. So
The middle one is definitely dead.
And a pond tree that was about half a block down the street from it. That's my way.
I can't remember what kind that is, but mine's trying to split too. Makes me sad.
Maybe they need your tree too.
No, it's on my own property.
Well, okay.
So this is on city property though, right?
It's in between the,
No, it's on the easement.
yeah, there you go.
It's on private property, you know, the
Well-
way where you mow your own grass, when
Yeah.
it grows there. You trim your own trees when they grow there. You cut your own trees down when they grow there and they start to die. That's where it is.
Okay. So then are we looking for permission from citizen to cut down a tree on the property?
I'm asking for help. The last time I cut a tree down, it was half on my easement and half on my yard.
Okay.
I cut it down, I asked for help. You guys graciously paid half. This time, this tree is huge. That particular one is 2 trees almost huge, rotting out, leaning, buckling the sidewalk. Nobody can walk safely down it. Even if the tree's out, I don't even know how I would get the stump ground, get the sidewalk back in order because according to what's being said now, that's my responsibility as well. I'm asking for some help because I did buy the property and I'd asked for it 20 years ago
and it wouldn't have been this problem because I'd have probably already cut it down before the sidewalk buckled. But I have it now finally, and it is massive, and it's been trimmed by the city for I don't know how long now. They've been regularly trimming it, so I thought maybe they could cut it down for me
And I do believe the city told you to come in ahead of time
and
next time
ask
you do something, did they
permission
not?
for any and all that's going on there. So there's another one on the property that I can't afford to have cut down right now, and that is on my property. But I don't have $2,000 sitting in my pocket for that tree. Maybe I need to have a bake sale.
Yeah, it's a big.
I don't know, I've eaten your food.
Hey,
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, you're
You
still
got a lot
alive.
of women in here.
If he's still alive, it can't be arranged. Oh, oops,
I think the sheriff's.
Yeah. He didn't hear that. I like them guys.
okay, so this like the easement that you guys are gonna get, the Kramer's working with the sewer, where you guys want to take possession of the property, that means it's gonna be your property if we sign those papers? Is that right?
No.
Still ours?
No,
No.
they want to use it.
Let's not,
That
is not correct.
let's not,
That's why I came in there and asked.
that's fine, but let's not
The
deter
sewer,
what
Well, I was
topic we're
gonna
on
ask
right
you, that
now.
was what
We,
this was.
and the sewer project
Not
is
enough to
on the
talk
agenda,
about.
so
It's
we're
different.
good.
we can ask that down the road.
Well,
Yeah,
so
that's
it's
totally
different. Okay. Yeah, I've got my own trees. And then goes out.
So she's asking the council for help. You guys, yea or nay? What do you want?
Yea or nay?
All right, no action taken.
Thanks for your time.
See you in 2 weeks. Ask them again. Okay, next up, Lisa.
I just have a couple questions for, well, one is a statement. There are 5 unpaid dock fees at the lake. I've sent 3 letters. I'm not gonna come up with the names right now. So at this point, they're considered an offending structure. How do we move forward?
Well, I think that the code says it's kind of like a nuisance. You give them notice specifically that's an offending structure, then it can be removed. One of them floating down by the.
I don't think anybody's claimed that one, to be honest.
That's the one that's been floating for 2 years. It just, I've reported it 2 or 3 times.
So that's, I mean, that, it's like that, and, you know, if you have a lake officer do the letter notices, as far as I'm concerned, and then the difficulty comes from how do you actually remove it? If
Yeah.
it's, I mean, if it's floating dock and not tied down, then it's maybe easier than some of the older
Well, I
docks.
think these are all pretty much attached, so I'll just send them a letter then stating that they're an offending structure and,
Can be removed at any time.
okay.
Did we ever establish a fine or anything like that?
No, but maybe it is.
I mean, we
'Cause I know we
established a
talked
late
about it.
fee.
Well, the late fee is different. I mean, that should be administrative. I mean, that's just a cost.
No, a late fee. We added a late
Good.
fee. A late fee. You're just thinking late. So while Todd's looking that up, the other thing, these sewer easements that I've gotten a few, and there was a check approved tonight to the Register of Deeds office for $400 and some. But the Register of Deed, I asked her how she would like those submitted, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. For their office, she said it would be best, you know, as they come in so that they're not inundated with lots of them at one time. So I guess I'm asking permission as I gather 20 at a time. Can I send a check or issue a check without waiting for a council meeting to have them approved? Kind of like we do with Evergy.
I don't see why not. We don't overburden the county office.
And that was her hope, was that we just don't.
Do we need a motion for that?
No, I think you just, if that's okay, you guys say it's okay.
Okay.
Because it's just a procedural.
I say it's okay. Works for me.
I don't have a problem with it either.
Okay.
The penalty is $25 a day, but the offending structure exists. That's just look at 12-208.
Okay.
So is that When's that day start? Now?
When you give the notice, the written notice of the suspend instruction.
When you write it, or just have to go certified so that they sign for it?
Maybe if they're watching, they'll send those checks in tomorrow.
I bet they're watching. Sure.
I mean, moving forward, could we make a date that it's not days past that?
Well, the date, I mean, that's just it.
I think the
Issue
legal way,
cause.
I think the legal way of notification is a certified letter with a return receipt.
You know, like Sally sends letters certified, so.
Yeah.
So they were due what, January 30th? How many days post due date do we start the initiating these letters? So like 30, 60, 90.
Service of any notice upon any permittee shall be deemed to be made upon placing such notice in the United States mail, first class postage prepaid. Address, permittee's last known address is shown in the records of the city. First class mail.
And is that our ordinance, or that's,
Yes.
we need to change that wording then, because that's not sufficient.
Well, is it not, it's sufficient? Yeah.
No, how many times have people not received mail? How many times does people say they have not received a letter? And there's no proof that they have got it, there's no proof that they haven't.
Well, we're not bound to send it that form, are we? Can't we send it?
Certified with
Certified?
return receipt?
You can send it certified.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just send it certified.
That's just
and all
bare
we're done.
minimum. You can add more. You don't have to do a return receipt because there's an electronic record of signature with the certified letter. It's just an added fee. But if you want a physical copy, that's the return receipt. It is.
Well, we'll start with
Hefty.
this letter and we'll see
Got lots.
if we
Yeah.
get a response.
Okay.
Okay, that was all I needed. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, Brett Kimball.
I just wanted to remind everybody that the Easter egg hunt is this Saturday at 11 a.m. at the park. Also, I wanted to bring up Devader's concrete, but again, I know we don't have all of the funds to do the entire sidewalk out to the nursing home, but I think it's important to keep the concrete work going. So I was hoping that maybe we could be in agreement to talk with Devader to do half of it right now with the money that we have, the 19,000 that we have. And then another month, it'll be probably like another $3,000 to $3,500 added to that. So that's kind of what I'm wanting, was kind of a consensus approval to ask him to do
For the sidewalk leading
from
out
home
to.
to the nursing home.
Mhm.
So you're gonna take a side off, how about the creek? How are you gonna get across it? You're gonna put a little bridge there or something?
Yep.
Okay, that'll be cute.
Guess I won't be planting any flowers till I see exactly where it's at.
There you go.
Brett, where are you gonna have them start? The nursing home or
It-
from the area?
No, I was gonna have him start from where the bank goes, so it'll go across where Kemp's old station was, and then go down to where the park is right now. Hopefully we have enough to make it to that park.
The scenic button.
And then we'll just have the piece from there to the nursing home left.
I think that's a good idea.
Are you gonna be able to get that property? Cause Monty Hayes said he wouldn't sell it years ago, maybe he changed his mind.
There's easement and setbacks, and there needs to be a meeting with the state, obviously. But yes, there's a way to do it. But everybody that the sidewalk's gonna go across, they're gonna have to get a letter just to be notified anyway, so.
Mhm.
He'll be happy.
So is that gonna involve a lawsuit or something?
I don't know where this is. Why would it be a lawsuit?
If you're gonna put a.
The sidewalk
I
in
don't
the
wanna
right of
bring it
way?
up right now, because you guys need to talk about other stuff.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
Anything else, Brett?
Well, is that a vote thing? We need to decide if we're gonna start working that way.
If you're obligating the city to pay funds, yeah.
We are 1 month away from having funds to just do the whole thing in one
No,
stretch.
No.
from adding another $3,500 to the.
balance.
to the balance.
So it's $22,000 is
Right
what
now
he
we have
needs, and he has 1,900
$69,050
now.
of that is guaranteed to the park CDBG grant. And so there's 19 left. There'll be 21,000 soon, I'm sure, so. Just going by monthly.
So are you
And I
gonna
guess
get
I-
a different bid from DeVader to see what
Yes.
it would cost?
I'm not
Oh,
wanting I just wanted us to be on the same page that
okay. I
to
thought you were
go for
needing
half of it.
a motion.
No,
Okay.
I'm not needing a motion. He is wanting to get it on the books though, so.
Yeah.
I'll have him do it quickly and we'll get back.
I think that's a good idea.
All right, let's move on.
Other thing with that as well. And it's with the housing board, and I'm gonna let Carrie talk a little bit about it. But we are wanting to ask the city to apply for that CDBG grant for us. So I'll go ahead and let Carrie talk a little bit about that.
Okay, but I'd like to start with just telling you what we've been doing so that it flows and I don't get lost in my piece of paper. So we've been working, we've got a lot going on. We're still in various stages of the mural and all of that. Grants slowed down because of federal issues, but we're continuing to research other options. I did attend a grant writing seminar, kind of a refresher course with updated information. We are speaking to home and property owners about affordable and safe housing partnerships so that we can get an idea of who will, move forward and do something. Let's see, we donated approximately $1,400 to the Park Association so they could make their match for their grant. We did purchase a lot in the building next to WAF, and so that's where the CBDG comes in. CBDG has a home rehabilitation grant that we can get in spite of the park work. And our plan is, it includes downtown, includes different areas. So it's not just housing rehab, though if we have people involved at that time, we will definitely include them. But so we bought this lot because it's overgrown and it's just a blight. And so we were thinking about putting a business in the back. The front would have a courtyard so that there'd be movie or music, relaxation. People walking down the street can just, step in and whatever. Let's see. Okay, and then the big thing is, the reason I think this is really important is because we're going to have an area for seasonal businesses or for those who want to try brick and mortar, but they're real nervous about really investing. They could try that while the buildings are being repaired so that we might actually have people ready to step in those with businesses. So that's kind of our thought process. It's also going to create ongoing revenue for the housing association, so that we'll have enough money to make a difference in Eskridge, to be been listening to him, in Eskridge. So we are an agency of of you guys, and we're still trying to figure out if we can use their grant writer and all of that. But she suggested we come ask you guys if we can do it under you guys, so that the grant writer can get started.
We're talking about the Flint Hills Regional Council.
Yeah. So that's what I'm asking.
I don't know why you wouldn't.
I don't know why not either. I'm sure they'll help you, and Richard Orton is a grant writer for him now, so just get with Richard.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank
Do
you.
you need a motion of support for this? I mean, because the city's doing this
Well, I think they're probably,
submitting
if
the
they
grant
need,
for us,
well,
so.
if they need a submission of an actual document, then I suppose at that time you can approve the signing of it, but you can't in blank, I think.
And I'll know more. I just need to get with you guys first before I spend a lot of time figuring it out. So
Does anybody know, is Richard here tonight?
No, I'm.
We have been working with Jana
Son
Williams
went by
too.
about 10 till, I think he gave up.
One of them will, they'll figure out.
All right, thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Okay, new city business, the Potawatomi Wabunsee Library. Step forward, please.
Yeah, I'm Judith Kramer. I'm the director of the library. You can pass these over there. I should have gone to you earlier, just some
Oh, you're okay.
information.
You can come around.
Does anybody that wants?
Our librarians always bring bookmarks.
I'm at a disadvantage because Patty Knutson is our branch librarian, and I thought she'd be here, and she had to take her kid to the ball.
Sure.
Thing. Kim is here, and I brought my assistant director, Ashley is here. We just kind of wanted to come visit with you and tell you about the library, tell you some of the things that we do, and I don't know how many of you visit the library because I'm not here all the time, and I know Annie is here, but I don't know everybody else. So we had almost 6,000 items checked out last year. We had almost lots of people. We really have a lot of people using our wireless internet, and I know that the cafe next door they use that a lot. And even though it's Mercury broadband, which we aren't real happy with, it still does the job. So we do get a lot of traffic there. Anybody want a bookmark? Yeah. So we've got summer reading coming up, and I know she does a lot of stuff in the park, and you guys have done quite a bit of work over there, so we're real appreciative of that. If you want to do anything with us, we'd like to partner with you and get more people in the library because we're here to help people, and we would like to get them in the door.
What is what's Potawatomi thoughts on the current library that we have?
The current problems that we have some problems. We have some problems with our building. There's some structural problems with the building, particularly in that back room. We can see the sky over the electrical box, and that's a real problem for us.
The reason I ask is one day last week, Thursday, I don't recall, I got an email from the Flint Hills Regional Council, and it was talking about grants that were becoming available. And I've just briefly touched on it, so I know nothing about it, other than it said that libraries are on the radar for small communities under 10,000 or under 20,000 people, something like that. So
we
can
have
get
a
with Richard on
complicated.
that, then maybe we can get a brand new library.
Well, we have a complicated situation where we are because we rent that building from a private individual.
Right.
And so unless he's on board with getting grant opportunities.
Oh, I'm not talking about continuing with that person. I'm talking about in the new
Doing
building.
something else.
Are you interested in that?
I think that might be something we probably need to be thinking about because if we're gonna stay here, we have to have a habitable place to be, and it has to be safe and you know, we're trying our best to work with what we've got, and we've been doing that for quite a while, but there have been some real concerns. I've got staff in there every day, and it's hard when they call and there's water running down the walls and saying, what do we need to do? It's kind of hard to manage that.
I'm with you. I understand. Sure.
So, and I'm not really complaining, and I didn't really want to ask you for anything particular.
No,
It's
you're
just
fine. You're
we
fine.
just want to bring it to your attention.
Well, I didn't want to approach Richard about looking into a grant if you guys weren't interested in a new facility.
Yeah. Well, we'd love a new facility is what we would do, but it's just the process of getting all that done.
Sure, I understand. All right, thank
And
you.
so look at all the information, and if you ever have a question, just call me.
Sure will. Thank you, Judith. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Kramer Engineering Sewer Project.
Good evening, Ben Kramer, Consulting. I just want to give the council an update. We have a few things to talk about. Update on the project. Rural Development is a funding agency behind the project, and with some of the things going on with Congress and the federal government, they're looking at dollars now. They're looking at where they can pull back dollars, and Eskridge is one of the places they're kind of looking at. And they're they're really looking to get this project off the ground as soon as possible. And so they had sent a letter out to the city, asking for some things. We responded or helped the city respond to it as far as some dates. So they come back now with they said they'll give us a 3-month extension. And we kind of asked for what does that said was a 3-month extension. Basically, I'm talking with them. If it sounds like if they see movement as far as the project getting underway, then they're going to go ahead and fund the project. Right now, like I say, they're trying to look for a place where they can pull back funds.
That's right.
And so, one of our concerns with the project is the easements. We're trying to get easements from everybody, not everybody, but everywhere where the line goes. And so that's something that, in order to bid the project, we don't have to have the easements necessarily, but we have to know they're going to be forthcoming, because we can't award the contractor the project unless the easements have been secured. There's some forms that Todd will have to sign off for the city. The mayor has to sign off saying that the city has secured all these easements at some point before we can issue a notice of award to the contractor. And so, I guess tonight we need to kind of look at making a decision. We have the wastewater treatment facility, the lagoons, and that is under consent to get those taken care of. You have a consent order from KDHE, and so that's we're looking at bidding two different projects basically. Well, one is that lagoons wastewater treatment facility, and the second is the collection system. The lagoons are ready to go. We own the land there. We don't need any easements. We can bid that anytime. So my recommendation would be to go ahead and get that out for advertisement for bids, get the contractor underway on that, and hopefully that's enough that rural development sees that you're moving forward with the project. If the letter was kind of saying to you, if you're not wanting to do the project, we need to know that. We responded that yes, through the council or through the city, that you are wanting to do the project. And so the second part then is the collection system. I would like to see that at least out, since they gave us a 3-month extension, they really couldn't explain what the consequences were. After the 3 months, it was basically just that we need to keep the project, they need to see some construction or project moving forward. And just getting the easements was not enough to secure that. So then the second thing would be to get that out for bid as soon as we possibly can. And I'm thinking if we could have that at least bid within the 3 months and have a packet to rural development saying, here's our bids, because they have to look at it and approve them once it's bid too. So we bid wastewater treatment facility, get the contractor moving on that, and then start moving towards getting the collection system. So I guess I really need from the council that's what you want to do, is move forward on those two projects, and that kind of where.
And moving forward, we will be guaranteed the funding, or still?
There's right now at the federal government, I don't know if there's any guarantee. You have the SRF KDHE loan. It's a 20-year note. They do offer 30-year notes. And I think during this time frame, we need to be talking with KDHE about that 30-year, changing your loan to a 30-year loan.
Is KDHE doing interim financing for this? Is
Correct.
that the idea? Okay. So the danger is that if RD pulls out, that you'll have, instead of financing it for 40 years, you're going to be at their rate, you're going to be at 20 to 30 years at KDHE's rate.
Correct.
Okay.
How much have we spent going after this grant right now? Does anybody know?
Not really
Or
grant. Yeah.
The fund going after the funding.
I don't
Does
know.
the city have any money already spent in?
I'm assuming so, but I don't know what it is.
Was this a project that was supposed to start in 2018 and be completed in 5 years by 2023?
Well, that's when they kind of gave the go ahead, was in 2018. It was, they gave you a letter. So the city at that time, what happened is they decided to go CDBG, and that was part of letter too of conditions is that you had CDBG funding. Well, you didn't have it. They were kind of prematurely, rural development, I feel, prematurely sent that letter out. And so you went after CDBG funding in 2019, again in 2020, and didn't receive it either time. So that's what's kind of delayed the project. We weren't able to start doing any design until after that period of time. So, but
So those reasons weren't good enough to extend it beyond 3 months, is that what you're saying?
well, not with the way the federal government is right now, I guess, is the way I understand. I really can't.
I'm just confused why after 2023 nothing was said, and why now 2 years later. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah,
because I wonder
and we are too.
Took
I
off.
mean, we've been working closely with the rural development. We've been working with, people there and giving them information that they needed, tell them where we were on the project. Those people aren't even there anymore. They've cleaned house, and some other people, the upper people left, the lower people moved up in these positions, and they're just kind of getting direction, told what to do.
Yeah, it's the Trump effect.
No,
No, it
it's
has
just
nothing to do
business
with that.
effect.
We're not gonna get into the politics.
They're been
Let's
on.
move
Let's
on. We're
not
talking
start
about- We're not talking
with
about
politics.
So do we need an actual motion in order to get the bids, go for bids? Is that what we're looking for?
I think that I just need
What do you need from us tonight?
a yes that you want me to go ahead and put the wastewater treatment out for bids, and then as soon as we can get the collection system out for bid.
I think we should.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Whether or not we get the final yes to go, we're better off doing it now in case we do get the yes to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we don't do it, we probably won't.
And
is the problem.
this
Yeah.
may provide the forward motion that they're looking for.
We're hoping.
Okay.
Yes. They will not give us a clear answer on that because we asked them in a couple different emails, can we go ahead and bid these projects? And there was no straight answer. They said you get 3 months.
We talked about these easements quite a while ago, didn't we?
Yep.
I thought we were gonna take care of that back then.
No, we provide the easements over a year ago, and they just haven't gotten moved forward, I don't think. So the easements have been done, and we provide them, and we're working with the city to try to help them get them out to the people. And
Was mentioning problems with them or something people not agreeing?
I think there has been some issues. I've had some phone calls on them, and
People have questions for sure.
yeah, they've had questions. The probably the one question we've had is they've got existing structures in where the easement is.
Well, no, I was looking at that because you emailed me that stuff, right?
Mhm.
And I'm just looking at that map, and it looks like the structure is over into the alley.
Yeah, it does on there. I don't know where those lines, you can't. I know what you're saying, but
Yeah,
those aren't surveyed lines, so they're
pretty
Well, I understand those are not surveyed line, but where is the shed in regards to the real property line? Is it over the property line?
Could be.
Mine isn't.
Why don't we put it in right away? Why don't we put it in the easement? Just forget about it. Put it in he can't have that structure on the actual easement, on the alley, right? That's what it's going through, right?
If it's been there for 80 years, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know where.
I don't know that.
I've had some people call because.
I don't know that structure's in the alley,
Yeah,
but it appears that it is. Therefore, it is also in the easement area that we're trying to obtain. So we basically have there's some of them are 16, some are 20-foot wide alleys existing, which is public right of way. And then we're asking most places for an additional 10 foot of easement outside the alley.
So, and so the 10 foot that you're asking for and a temporary construction is where he has the building, right?
Yes.
Well, what can we do with that? Because if he built it on his property and we never had an easement in that 10 feet. I mean, if you really want to take the easement, we got to have him tear down the building.
Well,
I'm paying for it.
On other projects that we've had, the existing structures are exempt from that easement. We're not going to go through where his building's at. Now, if it's in the alley over the sewer line, then
if we're not going to go where the easement's granted, then we don't need it. Put the line in the right of way, put it in the alley.
The line's already existing. The problem is we don't know where that line is for sure. The city had wanted to get in this additional 10-foot of right away.
Well, you know where you're gonna put the line, right?
It's existing already.
It's existing.
No. What are you doing? You're replacing
We're
the line?
repairing that line or lining it. It's gonna be in the same position it's in now.
And where is that? Is that in the alley, or do we don't know where it's at?
Well,
Depends on where.
we've been told, maps show, these arrows show that it's fairly so much in the alley. But if it's on the edge of the alley, that doesn't give you enough room to repair that sewer.
So we're gonna get an easement, and we don't even know if the line is in it.
You're replacing the lines that are already there, right?
Right. Well, but they're not replacing
okay.
lines, they're fixing the lines.
But if you go and you get a new easement and you get a new easement that's 30 foot wide, the sewer isn't in the whole 30 foot wide easement.
Well, I understand that.
And so our sewer, if it's within the alley, but it's on one edge of it.
Well, did when they put it in originally, did they get an easement when they put it in?
Haven't found those. No one's had any record of those.
Well, the register of deeds, the only one who cares register of deeds.
So that would be a no.
Yep.
Okay.
We've looked, the city's looked, we've asked, they say no. Because it's not just the alleys that we're looking at here. We got sewer lines that are going across properties that have no alleys, and we're getting new easements across there for the existing sewer lines. But that's not what we're touching on here. But that just to let you know, there are other places that there's.
And I've had a couple people ask, and I've been confident when I've told them they've got like their driveway goes to the alley, or they've got a concrete patio that goes to the alley. Those won't be disturbed.
I can't say that for 100%, but I would say if the sewer line is not underneath those driveways, then they would not be disturbed.
Right. I mean,
and if they are disturbed, fences, driveways, things like that, they'll have to be put back.
Okay.
That's part of the project is to replace those things. Todd, we've had sewers that go underneath people's houses, not in Eskridge necessarily, underneath the houses, underneath garages. We were able to work around those by lining the sewer instead of digging it up.
Okay, so what happens when it breaks and that building's over?
Yeah, you got a problem.
They're in deep
Yeah.
stuff. I've got a question, Ben. Are you asking for 10 feet on each side?
Where we're asking for 10 feet it is on the outside of the existing alley.
Okay.
But not necessarily. Sometimes we've seen where the sewer line appears to be on one side, we're gonna get that 10 foot on that one side.
So my question is, if you're asked, if people on both sides of the alley agree, okay, I'll give up my 10 feet for the easement, but then you find out the sewer line is on this side, not at all on this side, will this person get that 10 feet back?
That'd be up to the city if they want to, if they want to do that. The problem with it is we have to go through and survey the whole town to know exactly where these property lines are at, or wherever this area is at.
Right.
Isn't this just a temporary 10-foot extension easement? It's permanent?
The 10 foot's permanent. There's a 15-foot temporary outside of that.
So actually it's 25 feet from the property line.
But it's not. So
How is that beneficial to the town?
With the information too from the city is that what I learned is that 10 foot, they can't build anything in that today anyway. So it shouldn't affect anything anybody wants to do with their property there.
No, I'm not worried about if there's nothing on the surface, or it's just a driveway or a patio, that's remediable. And I'm, to some respect, if the building is in public right of way, it should be removed. But basically, if we need the easement and we need to be able to have access to the sewer line, and it's in that 10 feet, then I don't want a building over it.
Right.
So
we don't know that at this point. We wouldn't know that until we dig it up.
You have a fund?
And then I think it has to be dealt with at that time. If you find
can't
out
we
the sewer.
can't we, what if we, how much would it, more would it be to just replace the line in the right of way?
Dolly, Carrie, Dolly, y'all, yeah, please, so we can hear.
Can you hear our voices?
I
'Cause
can, I
can't
can, I can hear yours very plainly.
Amazing.
The people behind you
The
can't
people
hear.
behind you can't hear
Up
us.
here.
Well, we can't hear you anyway.
Then go outside and have your
These guys aren't
conversation so we
talking
can
loud
carry on our meeting, please. Sorry, Ben.
That's right. So, yeah, I think that's something you'll have to look at, you know, if it ends up being that that structure is over the building and you find out that either one, it was built in the wrong place, it didn't have a building permit at the time it was put up, I think the city has some action then to.
Well, here's my point being is that there's nothing that requires an individual property owner to give us an easement. The only way we have to get an easement, if we absolutely have to have it, is to condemn it. And right now, we can authorize condemnation that would say we need 10 feet on the road. And I go in front of the judge and I say, we want to condemn this property. And he says, well, what do you want to do? Why do you want to do that? Well, we need to put a sewer line in there. Well, we got a sewer line through there, but we don't really know where it is. We don't even know if it's under this thing. So, but we still want to take it. And that's not a very good plan. So if we, I mean, I understand the fact that we can't locate it because it's old, we don't have tracer wire on it or whatever it takes. But at the end of the day, if we're going to take the 10 feet, then we need to take the 10 feet, the building needs to go. Or whatever happens to the building, if it could be, I don't know, but it needs to go. If we don't know that that's the case, then we ought to think about whether or not we reroute it through right of way. That's it. I mean, there isn't any other two ways. Because you can't, it's just not acceptable. I mean, acceptable to have I don't know how it's acceptable to have a sewer line. Does KDHE approve that? Having a sewer line with a building built over it?
I don't believe so. But I'm not saying that there's a building built over the sewer line. We don't know that until we get in there and start repairing the sewer. And then we'll know that and we'll have to face that problem at that time. But if the structure is not over the sewer line, but it's in that 10 foot of easement, we need that easement to be able to pile dirt. We just wouldn't pile it where the building is. We wouldn't have to tear the building down to be able to pile the dirt or move pipe in and out of there through there. They just have to work around that building.
So the easement's just for workspace.
Well, but if it's a temporary, but that's not the temporary easements for that.
Well, the building's gonna temporary as well. So the same would apply. So
Yeah, well, I mean, if you make the whole 25 feet temporary, then yeah, you can work around it. But we still are, we're dodging the question here. Is there a line on the 10 feet easement that we want? And if it is, how can we with a straight face go and keep that with the building over it, interfering with our access to the sewer line?
Is there an actual building over a sewer line? Because are we just doing a
Nobody
hypothetical
knows.
here?
we have no
It's
idea.
hypothetical.
Sewer goes down the alley?
No.
I mean, can we just come to that when we come to that? Or
Is there not room to just put the sewer in the alley?
I've heard several near, or at least in the 10-foot radius or added easement. I've heard some garage or concrete slab are near, but not actually covering the
Okay, so
sewer or alley.
Well, that's just it. I don't know the plans here. Are we digging it up? What are we doing with the line? Are we just lining
No,
it?
there's different things happening in different parts of town.
Different options.
There's 3 different ways we're approaching the
Well,
repair.
this we're talking about one property.
This one is an actual.
away.
I think this is actual replacement. We're digging this line and replacing this line.
Well, then, isn't that your answer then? Replace the line outside, in right away. Or tell them we need the easement, we're gonna tear down this building.
Or exclude the building from the easement area.
But then you're gonna build, why are you building anything? You're building a line around it?
No. If we come to the project and the line happens to be underneath the building, we're back having this discussion again.
You can't go around it.
It's a sewer main. No.
Yeah, I mean, we can put a couple different, some more manholes in and we can get around it if need be, if there's room to get around it. That's just.
So I know a person that has a building that's on the alley, and they called me about this, and I didn't know anything about it. So I'm at the meeting listening. I didn't come for this, but this is interesting. So he's got an old building. It's ramshackle. It's falling down already. So if that gas line or sewer line was going down there and you needed a building, he wouldn't give a hoot. You could push it down, because I know that was built 100 and some years ago. But other people may not be like that. So are the sewer lines not on both sides of the alley? So could the dirt be piled on the other guy's property across the alley while you're working?
That'd be a good idea, dear, but my building's sitting on one side. I got trees on the other. You gonna go whack her trees out?
No, I'm just asking.
I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, because I don't know how this works. Now, this other guy that I know that doesn't live in his house, you can tear his down, but there's other people using their building. So that's why I'm asking. I'm not mad. I'm asking that question.
Why would you go
So-
on top of a sewer line?
So
I'd
where's
like to
this?
know
We know where it was.
Where's this there before we moved in?
I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know where
So
mine
is
are.
his, but he don't need his. You guys are using yours. So that's what I was asking. I
He
don't know
also
what the
built a
sewer
new
line is.
garage, it has a concrete slab that goes clear out to the alley too, so that concrete slab would be over
Well,
the sewer
mine's in the
line as
front
well.
yard and I don't know where it runs.
Did you have a
to.
question earlier? You raised your hand. I'll get to you.
I don't know if they're talking about our property or not. I did call and ask the city questions. We had a shed so 2 years ago, we got permission to build a fence, and Mike came out and marked it. At that point in time, part of our shed and part of the pre-existing fence is in what he marked as alley. I've also built a fence on our side of the property, and I put bushes in, all of that stuff, which would then be in that 10-foot easement. I'm not gonna lie, I don't want to give that up because that's money I put in. I understand it's already there, and that wasn't my money I put in, but we're using it to fence in dogs, things like that, because it was pre-existing. I've read through what you guys sent. I'm not gonna lie, I contacted my attorney, and if it comes down to it, I am gonna ask for the appraiser, because we're looking at having to remove stuff and restructure everything we've got going on.
Yeah.
So,
Which is their right. I mean, they can ask for the valuation, and when you give a condemnation and don't allow it, we have to condemn it, then we have to pay the value of it. If it's the part that's on the alley, we will not have to pay for it.
and I understand that. I mean, that was put there before we came in.
But anything within that 10-foot zone, 10-foot area and the 15-foot area is going to be taken and is subject to being used. A condition, I mean, I can condition probably the temporary, like, right? Because I could say we're only going to limit it to this area and the temporary. But if we're getting a 10-foot easement and we mean that we're going to put either the line's in there or we're going to put it in there, then I don't think we can have a situation where there's a building over it. I mean, cement.
Wrong, but it's my understanding that this sewer system we have, 1980 or earlier installed in the city. It's also my understanding that if we don't get this sewer line repaired in a good time frame, which at the time I was told was 5 years, we're subject to having sewer failure throughout the entire city. And what kind of a health hazard is that going to cause if that were to take place? So what, in your opinion, is the urgency to get this sewer project completed?
Well, so we've TV'd the lines. We found places where the lines collapsed, cracked, sagged, broke, and that's throughout the entire part of the system. There are some good parts of it, but the urgency is great, and now the opportunity to get that taken care of.
So what happens if the scenario I just described were to occur?
Well, if you have a sewer collapse, you're going to have backups in homes and sewage out on the ground, possibly backups to the manholes. Is that what you're?
Well, if that sort of thing were to happen, and I don't mean to be funny here, but if everybody knows where Hessdale is, that's what city of Eskridge would look like if something like that were to happen, because literally every business and building in this town would be destroyed through a sewer backup. So consider that when you make your decision as to whether you want to give up the easement or get compensated for it or whatever you have to do to get taken care of. Because it sounds like a project that's going to have to get done one way or another. That's what it sounds to me like. And that's just throwing it out there.
So we could be in a problem if we don't get the funding.
It's infrastructure. If our infrastructure starts failing, life is very unpleasant for all of
It
us.
has started failing.
It has started failing,
Be
yes.
clear, it
Please,
has.
yes. Water and sewer, we have issues with and we need money for. And this is a way to fund that that does not impact us
Well,
drastically.
You got a question too.
Drastically. These are millions of dollar projects that we're trying to get funding for from the
Rural development.
rural development.
We have another comment back here.
So, I mean, I own some land, probably not for very much longer, hopefully I'm trying to sell it, but I got a letter for easement, and I have a few friends who've gotten them, and I'm just more confused about what's going on. But I'm also like with the mind with like Annie, that, you know, when you replace it one way or another, and so I think in some of these scenarios, it's just, like for me, I just needed it didn't show up, because I read it, but I had a hard idea figuring out where on my property.
Yeah.
Right, and but I was like, if it's got to be done, it's fine. I want to know where. And so my kind of comment to the council would be more to work with everybody on a kind of case by case basis, because I think if you approach them and be like, look, like we don't want to get lawyers involved, like we have to fix this. That would be my suggestion to the council.
Sorry.
Is to work with each person in some of these unique situations. I think like my yard, I mean, my understanding, it sounds like I think it's in the back.
And you're right. Every property in town is unique to the others.
Yeah.
Well, this is where, I mean, a lot of these projects that are longer, bigger lengthwise, is higher with these. It's not the TV series thing, it's the land thing. That's the person who has the map, has the easements, goes around every property and can tell you exactly where this is going to take, where it's at, everything. So these questions, and they go every property that they get it, and they have their pad of paper, and maybe they're a notary too, so they can get you taken care of.
That is the goal, actually. That's why we hired Sally. We're hoping she can fill that role a little bit.
Land lady.
That was my point.
I think one thing to mention too is that these are easements. We're not taking right away. We're not taking their land. They
Right.
can continue to use this land. They can't put buildings over it, but they can continue to use it. They get to mow it. They get to water the grass.
And to be clear, you never could put a building over easement, but property lines sometimes get screwy. We all understand that. We deal with it every time we have a meeting.
Does this mean the building has to be an extra 10 feet alley though?
If they get, if they grant the easement, and it is an easement, then they can't interfere with your use, which means that if the land is there, they cannot build over it. That's an impairment of the easement.
So that was a long way of saying yes, Tim.
But the line isn't
An
in
existing
the
building
line
with-
is not in the easement, correct, Ben?
The best we can tell, they're not in this 10-foot
In
easement.
that easement, they are either in the center of the alley or
To be clear, the
front yard.
additional 10 foot, not the existing.
Right, I'm only talking about the additional.
I don't know that
So
was covered.
the can't be built in due to city ordinance currently. The area that we're doing an easement for
There's a
is
bonus
10 foot outside the
space.
easement or outside your alley. And my understanding is you have an ordinance that you can't build a building in there anyway.
That's the verbiage I didn't understand. I thought that maybe that extra 10 feet meant the property owner has to go an extra 10 feet for future build.
Nope. No, that's why
10-foot setback.
working with the city,
That's important to have clear.
that's why we did just the 10-foot.
Well, the sewer line currently is not on an easement piece of ground, is it?
Well, the best we can tell, and we're talking different areas, but
Sure.
where it's in town, in the alleys, best we can tell, the sewers are in the alley.
Right.
Sometimes we see where that, the sewers clear over to the edge of an alley. And that's why we're looking for that 10-foot right there, because it's clear over the edge. So you can't dig a 3 or 4 foot wide trench and not be outside the alley possibly.
Because my thinking is you're just gonna replace the sewer line, and you already got a sewer line there. Why wouldn't you just replace it where it's at?
It's where it is going to
We
get
are.
replaced.
It is.
So now what's the big deal?
This is just
about getting this
workspace.
extra? Just like, I know you just asked when the county gave it to you, but The county building over there is right on the edge of the alley.
That's what
And
I'm
we
thinking.
know the sewer line runs down the middle of the alley. You're not, I mean, the county's not gonna move that building. That building's old.
No,
They just
we're not
moved it.
100
asking.
years old.
we're
Yeah,
not-
we just put 20,000 in the roof. for it.
Yeah, we're not asking to
So-
move that building off the easement. Yeah.
But on a situation like that, wouldn't you just replace the sewer right down the middle of the alley? I guess I don't understand. Why
Not-
would
you
you
mean-
just put,
If it
why
were
wouldn't you
a
just
new
put the
building.
new line where you've got easements already?
Well, if you
That's
don't,
what I was thinking.
well, but if
As
that's
well.
the case, then it's a temporary construction easement, like you said, and it doesn't matter, but that's not what your easement says. Your easement says it's a permanent easement for 10 feet.
Are you talking about the paperwork we mailed out?
Well, the
Specifically?
one that the specific one we're talking about here, right? So, I mean, and that's, if the property line's here, if you say I want 10 feet here of a permanent easement, that's a permanent taking of that 10 feet. If the line is here, you don't need a permanent easement because you're not gonna be here after you construct it. You need a temporary construction easement. And maybe you're right, you don't need to tear down that building because you can do, in this one area, you can bore it. I don't know, whatever you do. But if you take the 10-foot easement, then you're taking a permanent interest. That's how the law views it. So if you can change the easement on that property to a temporary construction easement, and as long as that pipeline isn't over the alley line, you're okay.
I mean, I tend to agree with you, except would you do all of it as temporary, or could you still do part of it as permanent? Only temporary, don't even have easement where the building is, just exclude where the building is. The reason I say that it needs to be permanent is to have room to get in there in the future. The temporary will be gone. In the future, the temporary will be gone, and you will not have anywhere to go and dig up the sewer to be able to repair it.
Well, then, if that's the case, then you either move the line when you're doing it, which doesn't sound like you want to do, move it farther into the alley.
I'm just concerned with the cost of it. Yeah, we can, if it has to be moved.
Well, I don't know how you would get a permanent easement in a location that has a building over it already, because it's interfering with your use per se. You're not getting an easement then, right? Because what we want is we want a clear area of 10 feet. And even if the line's not in there, if you say, I want a clear area where I can get my equipment down there and do all the work I want to do, then we owe it to them to get the 10-foot easement and take down the building. And we're sorry that we have to do that, but that's what it takes to have a modern system. What I just don't get is that we leave a building over part of it if it's in the way when you replace it, it's in the way when you fix it. That doesn't make sense to me. Am I making sense here?
Yeah. But if
I
we're
think-
doing all of it, why don't we just put it in the alley in the first place?
That's
Right
not
now,
my
we're doing
call.
all the alleys. That's what I was wondering. Is that a huge higher expense?
To go and survey all the alleys.
Not just put it down the middle of the alleys where the
We gotta
alleys
know where
are.
it's at. We gotta know where the alley's at. That's kind of the issue here.
Why wouldn't that have been thought of in the beginning? Why would you
Well,
go the extra of all of this?
if we don't know where the alleys are, we don't know where the lines are. How do we know anything? Am I making sense here?
Yeah, we have an assumption of where those alleys are at. And I think that's why the extra 10-foot guarantees that sewer is gonna be within that alley. Or within that easement area too.
Well, I'm not been over an assumed line. I mean, it is either we're assuming a line and then we're assuming we have a 10-foot easement on an assumed line.
Would a person actually build a building over a sewer line on purpose?
Oh, absolutely.
They didn't know about it. People,
Well, why would,
people
I
build
mean, in this
buildings
town,
and move
everybody
buildings
gets,
in.
they get regulated on everything in this town.
Not
Maybe
necessarily.
20 years
Does,
ago, I don't know. This is crazy.
Well, I guess, how do we know that the monument's there? We have lot lines?
Don't know.
Because you haven't surveyed anything.
So we're using the plat, the
Yeah.
West County plat, is that what we're using?
Pretty much. Yeah, just apparent property lines, sidewalks, back sidewalks typically are. If the city wants to go through that to survey it, we can do that. And I'd be glad to give a number for that, but it's going to be expensive.
It's just crazy that we're going off assumptions and we're coming after more.
I will say it's not just a blind assumption. Some of these lines have been accessed before. I mean, Mike told me where my main was
Well,
in my
we know where
yard.
the mains are.
Yeah,
We've surveyed in all
we're
the
not
manholes.
guessing that.
Yeah, we surveyed in all the manholes, but within a certainty of 5 feet or so, I don't know where that right of way is. I can only assume by aerial photography, the county appraisers, and physical evidence in the field that we see.
I'm sorry, I thought you said you didn't know where the line was.
No, I don't know where the property lines are. Let's clarify that.
Oh my gosh. Is this an outside meeting conversation? It sounds like to me.
Maybe so. I guess so.
The sewer mains have all been identified. We found manholes. We shoot. Now, if it veers between manholes, we wouldn't know, but it doesn't typically do that. It's usually
It's not that difficult to even ascertain that information anyway. So.
Well, I mean, the line, if the line is there, in the building is there, is the line under the building?
I've never said that the line was under the building.
Okay, well, I didn't say you said it, but.
No,
yes,
so to my knowledge, we haven't found any lines that were underneath buildings. They're close, but
we're not figuring this out today. But.
But I think for right now, we need to approve getting bid.
On the
For the lagoons.
lagoons, yes.
Well, I'd move forward with
Thanks,
the collection system as well. Now, we don't have to award it, but yeah, we need to move forward with getting those bids.
Does that require a motion?
Yeah, I think so.
And I'll move to that.
Is that Michelle? Second. Okay, motion by Tim, seconded by Annie to authorize Ben Kramer Engineering to seek bids for the sewer project as needed.
As well as. What was the other part that you said?
The collection
The
system.
collection system. Wastewater treatment and collection. There'll be 2 different bids.
Any further questions, comments? Those in favor? After all that, go for it.
Okay, all right. So how do we want to address the easements, I guess? When do we want to get together and do that?
I mean, I get that. I don't know you've got some of them or not?
They've all been mailed out. I've only had 22 returned.
Yeah, but how many?
100 or close to 200.
211.
When did you mail them out?
I mailed them out in March, the end of March.
Yeah.
I thought we talked about this like
I can tell you.
Forever
I think
ago.
that's right. Yeah, because it was pretty close to.
I received a few phone calls
Yeah.
about it myself.
There's a lot of questions.
So if we didn't get one, we don't have to worry, right?
Correct.
I would like to make a comment on those letters. We just purchased our house, so I'm afraid maybe the letters were addressed to the previous owners.
There's not a sewer that would in fact
On
affect
my
you.
side, okay.
Sally asked me about that and I looked at the
Okay.
map and
And I just haven't got back to you.
it's in the middle of the street.
Perfect. I thought so.
Fine.
March 25th is when I mailed those. You know,
And we need them when?
When's the
3
3-month deadline?
Yeah.
Do you have the
Soon.
date?
As soon as possible.
ASAP.
Really. Yeah, so yeah, we need to figure it out and get moving forward.
So today is the 14th of April. You can come back in 4 days with the bids. That's soon enough.
I got to advertise for 30 days.
How much time do you give for bids?
30 days. We
30
advertise for 30 days. Hopefully we'll have it we'll have the wastewater treatment out for bid by the end of April. Then it'll be a 30-day bid window. We'll have a bid opening.
Well, roughly 30 days puts us at May 12th. If you go further than that, it puts us on Memorial Day, which I think the council will probably delay that meeting for a day or two. Memorial Day weekend. So maybe the 28th of May.
Do you want to have the bid opening at a normal council meeting, or do you want to have it during
What's
the
the
day?
legal? I thought you just put out bids and people submit them to you, and then we
No, you
decide
gotta
on it.
approve a bid.
We have
So-
to approve the bid first.
No.
No. We'll have a bid letting. We'll set the bid date. We'll collect bids by a certain date and certain time.
Right.
We'll open those. We'll review those, make a recommendation to the council.
Okay.
The question
That's where I was going with the
the
date in May.
question is, does any of the council want to be present for the bid opening? Or do you want us to just do it?
And then
And
you only
report
give a
back.
recommendation as to who is lowest responsible bidder.
Correct.
You guys approve the bid.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm good. I'm good with that.
Okay.
But you'll have to do
Ultimately,
that.
that's where we're gonna go with anyway, I believe.
But you need 30 days for advertising for the bid. So you're not going to get it done before May 12th. That's my point.
Probably not.
So to present us with your recommendation would be the last meeting that we have in May. At this time, we don't have a date set for that. I'm going to guess the 28th of May, a Wednesday night. So I'm going to guess at this point, but we'll see.
Okay, so that's just the.
That's just to get, just to give him the approval on his recommendation for
Well,
the
I mean,
bids.
the normal procedure for obtaining easements for a USDA RD project is that you would send out a letter, like you probably did, with the easement, ask them to donate it, and they have period. Hopefully, they'll respond and donate the easements. If they don't, you have a period of time that they would have the right to seek an appraisal under the Relocation Act, which, depending on what you wrote, they could have a waiver evaluation. That's complicated, but that can be done. The next stage of that is that if they don't agree and they want money, how you manage that? Do you just say we're only accepting donations, we're not paying for easements? You can do that. But ultimately, if they don't agree, if there's one person that will not agree to grant you an easement, then it has to be condemned. And I'm just saying, condemning easements within 3 months is going to be a tall order. Well, it's possible. It's just impossible. It's too many. You've got to have it. I mean, timetable is important. I mean, I think USDA would usually cut you slack if you have the condemnation action filed. We're talking about, I mean, if in 2 months, you're probably still, my guess would be at 100 easements. There's 100 properties on a resolution, 100 properties to be appraised through 3 panel appraisals. It's a huge amount of money. And I don't think USDA covers property acquisition costs. So, I mean, I don't know how much this ends up, but it's enormous.
Why don't you tell us some good news on that?
More than the service of
I guess we're door knocking now. It's time to do it.
The whole community needs to have a base.
I'll reach out and get some answers to questions and start publishing on the Eskridge Watch page. That's one thing we could start doing. I know there's just questions.
Yeah.
I've been asked many, many times, but I'm also in the post office. People stop me constantly. So I don't have the answers yet. I'm going to reach out to you and get them. Then we can start solving some of these dilemmas.
Yeah,
So
there's
how about that?
probably 90% of them that are holdout or just questions that
Right.
likely have a straightforward answer.
Forgot to sign it.
I know that I've heard
Is
at
there a
least a
date
couple
put on
people
that
say,
received by? So I can guarantee you, people sit reading it, there's no date.
Yeah.
When we have to receive it, they're just shoveling it underneath the pile of important papers, or just
Well,
ignoring
I
it.
did I did get my notary as far as people to sign in front of a notary. I can notarize their signature. There's notaries at the bank. school district office.
My wife.
Okay. Anyway, I mean, there's notaries around town. So, I mean, knocking on a door and Sally gathering them, it's not really the legal way to have something gathered and notarized, so.
Would it do any good to have a town hall meeting?
You probably wouldn't have too many people
Let
coming.
people come
This
out
is
here.
as good as it gets.
Somebody.
This is a full house for us.
Well, it depends
Unless it's
on,
late fees.
Tim, I mean, it depends on the nature of, like, you put a message on the watch and then let it circulate, the nature of the wording. So you put like, we're looking to claim land, like, gather their attention, like, and then come here, you might pull some more people.
Some people are with the misconception that if they hold out, some people are with the misconception that if they hold out, then the city's gonna come back and offer them a lot more money than whatever.
And all
And
that,
that's just not there.
all that does is raise the price, the cost of the project. We've seen that happen in the past where districts and cities have spent $300,000 purchasing easements that just rolled right back into the taxpayers and they had to pay that.
Yeah, pay it off.
You know, that's where your money comes from.
And if people understood the way Terry put it about what could happen, they
There's a reason why we put this sewer system in inspection years and years ago by the contractor to keep track of our sewer system. And I think you guys have been pretty open about the fact that we have problems with the sewer. And people just need to realize it's for them that we're doing it. They just, it's like she said, they probably put that paper on top of their, I put mine on top of my pile. I'm sending Lisa that tomorrow. I wrote it on my hand. Sorry.
And Ben, haven't we spent like almost 300,000 on this project?
Probably all with reports and with the CCTV work that we've done, the preliminary engineering, the easements and things, we're probably right around 300,000.
So with the possibility of that, of not getting the funding, will we just lose that money or get some of that funding? That
Well,
money back?
you'll get KDHE funding, and we'll cover that. We can submit for that anytime. The council had always,
that's a loan.
Yeah, it's a loan.
Once you start.
The council had always wanted to delay that because once you start drawing that, after 2 years, you have to start paying it back. So as long as you can, handle those bills until that time comes, until the contractor gets here, you're better off that way.
Their taxes shoot up, right?
No, that doesn't have anything to do with the taxes.
Sewer rates.
Well,
we already increased the sewer rates to be eligible to apply for a grant, so.
Because they were too low.
That's why we kept increasing.
So we'll see, we'll keep in touch with you.
Okay.
You can keep in touch with
If
me.
there's anything I can do to help the city out with that, let me know.
You need to keep in touch with me through my email or through the city clerk's office. And we'll have a date for you in May for sure.
Okay.
If it would happen to be ready by, if it would happen to be ready by the 12th, let us know. We'll put you on the agenda then.
Okay.
But I think we're pushing the 12th.
I think we are too. Yep.
Very good. All right, thank you, Ben.
Good evening, thank you.
Sending your son next time.
Yeah.
Okay, Kim Davis with Envision Eskridge.
Yes, I am just asking signature. Should be a little easy fix here, but through this empowerment program, they will guide us, start cleaning up the city, giving us guidelines on how to do things, run our meetings, and basically we will partner with the Extension Office and K-State to start working with them to get more grants. Tonight seems to be all about grants, but this is one of them. If we partner with them, the first one is a $500 grant just to start the process of, working with our Envision Eskridge to get the funding for some programs. So, this was formerly the Pride grant, and Eskridge did have that in place. In fact, today when I circled around, I seen the Pride sign still up, but that is no longer. This is replaced. So all I need is a resolution number and for a signature. And if you have any questions.
Historically, the resolution number would be 041424.
Okay.
Oh, 25, yeah. Thank you, Tim. I had a forward going.
You did say the old 25.
Can you repeat that, Lisa? Sorry.
It'll be 041424.
Got it.
Okay, I noticed there's a flyer attached to this paperwork.
That was
we
just an
have.
update of what they had submitted to us.
Oh,
a
that
month or
was
so
something.
ago.
Yes, I had submitted that quite a bit back, and I was thinking to reach out to the businesses to see if it's really hard to get grants if I don't know what the businesses need. And so I was going to ask them if I could have them fill this out. I was going to come to your city business meeting, but I thought maybe that was an inappropriate time to bring this up. But I just kind of want to know who would like what. Like if one of the new grants is a sign grant, and it would allow us to get awnings. And I thought that would be really nice, for a city to have some awnings. One of the new, I heard something about a mural. There are just released a new rural mural grant, and if anybody would like to release any property, I would be glad to search out for that grant. And so they're starting to open up some grants, and I want to get real active with getting those. And this would be one step to help me start getting further with that.
You have enough flyers that can get passed around to the businesses in town.
Yeah, is there a good way to do that? To get, I mean, I would like even the businesses that aren't open, because if we offer them a planner and an awning, and maybe they would start thinking about refreshing their
I
building.
compiled a list of commercial building owners when we had that meeting a week ago.
Oh,
I'll
good.
give that list to you.
Perfect.
Okay.
Kim, what I call the liquor store, the things like the big bread thing on there. Brett knows his name, I don't, but he was interested in getting the front painted. So I told him I'd pass that on to you.
Awesome. Yes, and I also was going to ask the city, I know we're just talking about the resolution, but Envision Eskridge did receive his first grant. It was $250. And so we're going to start out small, and just because learning to write a grant is a task. And so that is one thing that we already did. We started a Facebook page. If everybody would go on and like it, the more likes that we get, the more the information gets out and gets spread, and maybe more donors would come in. So in order to get, we got our 501c3. So that's a place where all the donations will go to them. And I know a lot of you are familiar with that, how that works. But so that all the money that comes in does not go to a private individual. It will go through them, and the money has to be dispersed for the projects that we lined out in the 501c3, which is all just beautification of Eskridge. It's all Main Street items. So
I'm going to back up a little bit. We actually need a motion to adopt resolution.
Yes.
I move to adopt resolution 041425.
Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your support, and this is just teaming together. Like this is you guys.
Haven't voted on it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good. She's excited.
I am.
That's good. Okay, so we have a motion by Annie, seconded by Tim, to adopt resolution number 041425. Any questions, concerns, comments? Those in favor? Now you can praise us.
Okay.
Thank you
again. Thank you again.
Thanks for what you're doing, Kim.
Oh,
Very much.
Right.
Really.
I appreciate it.
Next up, alley maintenance gravel request for 201 East First Street. 202 East First Street.
So that's gonna be me. I'll pull up on the map. So this is First Street here. It runs into Second Street here. This whole lot is me. Okay. Most people know I run a mobile repair unit here in town. My trucks are 13,000 pounds. This driveway actually is a pull through. My wife designates the front half of the driveway to get kids in and out, so that is pretty inaccessible. I have to drive through here, and my one truck's 10 foot tall. So turning that around in my driveway is a pain. Right where my driveway meets the alley is 100% dirt. The entire alley is dirt. My concern is On the other side of my alley is about a 10-foot grow. You should have some pictures of it in your packet there.
If you guys need some brighter pictures, I've got some.
Yeah, my printer was running a little low on ink. The concern with that is when it rains, it is really hard to maintain control in those really heavy vehicles. There's a telephone pole. When you come out this alley and go towards Main Street, you hang a left, and you almost, the bumper comes within a foot of that telephone pole. And my worry is one of me or one of my employees going out that driveway when it's wet and taking that pole out. Now we've killed power to the whole block. So the solution is, instead of having everybody angry at me and everything else, or to not have my truck end up at the bottom of the hill, is to come gravel at least my half. But it's silly to just gravel half of it, because everybody on the alley is going to be upset, because I know several of us use the alley going in and out. That's my piece on it. I mean, those are my concerns. What do you guys have questions on? I can kind of point out some pictures.
Is this a residence that you're driving?
Correct.
I had told Josh when he came in that historically the city's only maintained the alleys behind the businesses. And Mike was here with me when he said that, and Mike had shared that. I don't remember where it was. I wasn't here, I don't think, but
Joel Ryan's.
Well, somebody, it's like the individual bought the gravel and then the city spread it.
No,
So
I haven't
anyway,
get around over by bushes.
So I don't know. I just remember being told that. So
Well, I also have gained access to a skid steer, so I mean, if the gravel got run in, the trouble is, I'm not going to pay to gravel the whole alley. I'm just not. And then if the other residents on the alley see that part of gravel, they're going to be upset, I'm sure. I can't really speak for them, but I could almost assume. That's correct.
Marvin King?
Yeah.
That was the previous owner.
Yeah, that was it. And it wasn't used much prior.
No, it hasn't ever been used at all, really.
That's why the difficulty comes in for me, is that I understand the alley is probably not suitable for commercial traffic, but it's not a commercial zoned area.
It's not zoned.
Not like a home
Did you have a conditional use permit?
It's not, well, it's
Or conducting business?
All of our business is roadside for the most part.
His business isn't at home, it's on the road.
He just parks there.
Yeah.
And I got employees that come in and out of there all hours of the night, and I'm worried that.
Do you have to have a conditional use permit to?
Well, if you're telling me that there's trucks going in and out of a location, multiple work trucks going in and out of a residential location, it's a violation. I mean, this is not a commercial property. Whether you have a mobile repair business or not, mobile repair business should be going in and out of the commercial property. That's just.
So you tell me where I park my trucks?
Well, you can park your trucks on your property. I don't care about that. It's just that you don't have, you shouldn't be driving on the alley that's not improved.
Okay. So that's what I'm asking for your advice. How do I go about driving them? I mean, sure, I can park them. You only park them on the street. The weight over time, I'm taking the wear and tear as far as the road goes on my property. I'm not asking for anything on that side, but what I'm concerned of is taking out that telephone pole. That's my concern.
Yeah, I understand your concern. I'm not giving you advice. I'm giving you legal advice. I'm just telling the council of a concern that, the genesis of this problem is not somebody driving their car or their regular pickup truck around there. It's somebody operating a commercial vehicle.
Well, so on that point there, it doesn't really matter whether it's me or my wife's SUV. The point is the alley's still slick and it's downhill in front of so even if I completely stop driving my commercial vehicles through there.
Yeah, well, if it's an unsafe location, application.
It doesn't really matter. I was just giving the example of, I do drive heavy trucks coming through there.
Well, I'm gonna say, if it's a unsafe road, then the road either needs to be improved or it needs to be closed, the alley. Because if it's not suitable for vehicle travel, you gotta make it safe and you gotta close it off. If you're not gonna improve it.
Can we improve an alley up behind
Joel Bryan's house?
Frank's and
Yeah.
up in there?
The plan was to be smoothing out the alleys so people could drive
Okay.
back and forth across them again, and then slowly work our way to getting gravel to the alleys. That has not been talked about or revisited or
Since that one day.
enforced since then.
Well, council.
So what do you suggest them to do then, Todd? First get a conditional use permit to be there, or?
But you can get a conditional use permit for that. It's not, probably doesn't fit the home occupation. It's a county rental zone. So whatever they do. I don't think making it a home occupation solves the problem.
Yeah, because whether it's my trucks, my commercial trucks or not, it's bound to happen. My wife's almost hit that pole at least once or twice when it's laid out.
Basically telling me it's your alley. If you want it gravel, you have to do it yourself.
But you also said the neighbors are using that alley, right?
They do. Denise Dudley lives 3 houses down from me. She goes in and out of the alley, but she goes the other direction, and it's the same thing. The only difference is she doesn't have the downhill danger. Hers is pretty flat. Right there where my house is.
It's a city alley.
It is, according to this map here, it is a designated alley.
If I were to suggest gravel, it would only be on the city's portion and not the private drive.
Correct.
That's what he's asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. My drive's already gravel.
Did you offer, since you have access to a skid loader, to
Absolutely. I will spread it. Do you bring somebody in and dump it? I'll spread it all myself, all the way out to the end.
We've done it before for other alleys, is all I'm.
Yeah.
We fixed the concrete spot for
We
scoping room.
we can even put it into condition if you would like, that I will maintain. If it ends up damaged because of my use, I will maintain it.
You'll do what?
I said,
If it's damaged.
if we put gravel, if you guys pay for the gravel to be dumped, and I'll go spread it. If it ends up damaged because of my use, I will maintain it and that'll be on me. I think that's fair.
And I think with that pole, doesn't he have to contact the electric company? You have to be the one to move that?
Well, I don't think he's asking to move the pole.
No, if you put gravel in there, that eliminates the traction issue.
He's worried about
He wants to make sure he doesn't move the pole.
Exactly.
Better have some good drivers. Let me put it
And the
that way.
fence and tear up yards and end up at the bottom of the hill. It's not gonna be a good day for anybody.
Well, I moved to provide gravel for this alley.
I second it.
You accept my proposal?
I accept the proposal and I second it.
Like $10,000 worth?
Oh, I don't know that part.
Out of what fund?
Yeah.
Street and alley fund?
General is like slim.
Yeah. Well, we have a sales tax fund though, that
You could have somebody.
Not for alleys.
For streets.
It's designated for sidewalks.
I think Barry picked up gravel for us in the winter a couple of times. What was the invoices on that? He had $500 for the gravel. I remember that, but how many trips?
I have to pull up the invoices. I don't know.
It's what, 14 on right now?
I think it's 12.
12 a ton?
I just called like 3 days ago. It's $12 a ton.
You're locally?
Yeah, this is from Van Meters.
Delivery?
Yes.
Delivery?
I'm pretty sure. I called them and I asked them all the time.
They don't deliver.
You got one.
No, it's.
I may be mistaken on the delivery part, but
I think it's if we go pick it up.
because I called because I do need to add gravel to my alley and I pushed it to the side with the snowplow.
How long is that run that we're talking about?
Give me a second here.
5 houses long.
Yeah.
So a couple hundred feet.
It shouldn't cost any more than it did Joel Grimes. This is the full length.
How much I paid for
We're
mine.
talking about doing the whole alley from,
No, just from what we got in.
from his drive to the road.
His drive to the road.
It doesn't have to be something.
But how much did we spend for that?
I don't, I have to.
They don't
dig
even-
into it. I don't think that helps.
I'm gonna suggest we start out with $500 with the ground. See what that covers.
I'm gonna throw this out there also. A lot of times in the past, as we have said, when we've done this for property owners, property owner pays for the gravel and we do the rest of it. If you're wanting to throw in a little bit extra to make darn sure we get all the gravel, you're
I was gonna say, what if I match you?
That'd be awesome. I bet that would get her done.
If you put in 500, I'll match it.
Oh my God. They're so long. Come on, guys, we're the city. We want it cleaned up. We want people living.
I mean, well, the problem is,
Gravel the damn thing.
the problem is.
I will say
They
this
all
does.
used to be gravel.
I will say this does happen in Topeka where businesses put in money to fix their
I
roads
know.
to incentivize. So that's not abnormal. It's not abnormal.
People could move to the peak if they wanted that. They don't want that.
I'm just saying, it's not abnormal. It's,
Come on.
So, Annie, did your motion include a dollar amount?
it did not. I can amend it.
This,
I don't know. I like exact figures, so this hurts my head a little bit. I'd rather know what we were needing.
the
So
trouble is, I'm not a gravel company, so I don't know.
you don't have to know that. You need to know the square foot coverage. That's what I'm asking for. And the depth, I don't know what depth is.
So
It's
then,
an alley.
yeah, so then we would need to know, in order for me to gain that information from you, how far do you want to go? Because, I mean, my concern is obviously my place, but then I gotta guess I'm speaking on behalf, this house here, I know for a fact she uses the alley, and it's dirt, this is mine. But she doesn't have the downhill slide. If I just gravel mine, I almost bet you she's gonna come say something, especially if I have the city self gravel.
Can we maybe table this and actually get figures?
Right.
Would that bother you if we?
No, it doesn't bother me. So I guess I need to know, do you want me to see how much it is to gravel the whole thing? Or do you want it half? What do you want done?
I can come and look.
Okay.
I'm not interested in doing half of it.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. I'll get those numbers for you.
But we do need to
I will
act quickly because
rescind my
the
motion.
rains won't quit.
That's my concern.
How does the motion rescind her, withdraw her motion?
Okay, and we're tabling
Sure.
it. Now we're tabling it to the 26th, right? April 28th.
So I'm going to table it to the April 28th.
So
Pending more detail.
Jason gets it off. It's my turn.
No, he's not done. He's got one more item on the agenda.
You ready for me now?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is this building next door. I am going to be moving forward with purchasing this building. I just want to bring it to the council's attention that I'm doing so. What all information, I mean, do you guys want plans? What do you want? What do I need to do? I know we kind of discussed at the last little meeting we had on this ordinance that we were thinking about. What do I need to do as far as process? Because I'm going to be going through the grant you and I talked about over the phone a while back. Stephanie and Thurman is supposed to be looking into how far that building has came as far as the stages go for that grant, and some other things that I need to know about it. But I need the council to be aware, so there's going to be some change of hands, and probably this week.
Part of the reason he's bringing this up is because I sent a letter out on that building.
Right.
So that's why he's here too, to let you.
I just want to make sure I'm not hitting myself in the foot with a hammer.
You know, the general concept has been, and I don't want to speak for the council necessarily, but when they see progress in improvements, they generally do not push directly for abatement right away. So I don't think that there's going to be a move if you show, you know, you come here to communicate with.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is I have absolutely zero idea what the structural integrity of the building is yet.
Yeah.
But I know we have an ordinance concerning the facade, and I'm hoping to keep it. But in the event we come to where it has to come down because of structure issues, can we go back and revise that ordinance?
We do not, as far as I can tell, have an ordinance that talks about.
I couldn't find it.
Well, I'm sorry, what is the ordinance supposed to say?
I thought that the last little meeting we talked about, there was an ordinance in place stating that we had to keep the facade. I haven't looked into it.
No.
It says that it would be helpful in some instances if you want to do that, that you can.
So there's nothing saying that we can't. Okay,
No,
do I have
say
to bring this, if it comes to that point, do I have to bring this before the council again, before we deal with that?
You'll need a building permit if you're doing anything
Right.
with that.
Well, I'm going to apply probably for, I don't know what permits I have to have. That's part of another question I need to ask. What permits do I have to have as far as cleanup goes? Is there any?
Basically, you just gotta let me know.
No, yeah, there's no requirements, but for the fact that I think environmentally, your own, it's not a city ordinance, it's just state may require you to test for asbestos or lead paint.
Prior to cleanup?
Well, yeah, for disposal of materials. I don't know.
Let's get with Brownsfield and see how far they got in the phases. I know that I'm pretty sure they completed the first phase. I'm also pretty sure they didn't do second or third, but we'll check with them to be sure.
We don't handle that part of anything. We're just saying that,
right.
We expect anybody to follow those requirements about, dangerous substances.
Really, that's it. I just mainly wanted to bring it to the council's attention that that was being done, and that there should be some heavy progress. I'm gonna go buy a great big trailer real soon.
Keep us posted.
Now, do I need to, according to that, I know the other ordinance hasn't actually been set in stone, but do I need to bring it back to you guys in 90 days and come up, tell you what we've done or what?
No, we're not. You're talking about 582 ordinance.
I know it's not in place yet, but I'm just saying.
But the letter, you're talking about the letter that
Right.
was sent. Well, it needs to be secured is what we're looking for.
Okay. I'm going to get that done as soon as I can.
Thank you.
I gotta acquire the property first.
Right. I guess just keep that in mind when you're doing that process, that you will be the next one taking that step then.
Perfect. That's all I had on that one.
Next step on the agenda is the CDVG documents that Annie presented some time ago.
Last meeting.
That's going to have to be passed through your efforts.
Did anybody have a chance to read these?
Look through them. They're standard.
Okay.
Same one.
Yeah. Okay, so I think probably we'll have to pass them one at a time. So, code of ethics.
I move to approve all code of ethics. All.
You can do it.
I think you can say for the record that we've moved to have the mayor execute and the city approve the grant project procedures and policies.
No, it's not. Technically, it's required, but it's not part of it. It has to be it just has to be absent CDBG wording, period. So probably don't.
These particular things have to be incorporated
in our own,
like our own handbook, right?
Yeah.
We don't have
policy.
Not handbook. Right. Not the policy. Excuse me, policy.
This is the equivalent of a resolution. These are equivalent of resolutions, but not moving.
Do we need to do that?
Well, you can call it the pass, approve, and have the mayor execute Kansas Code of Ethics, Eskridge Code of Ethics, procurement policy. And the procedure for civil rights. Yep. Procedure.
Can we not afford oil?
Keep the door open, please.
Just leave that one. We don't care. We just want to. We don't want to hear it anymore.
I think they were talking out there.
They can. Well, they can go outside.
Well, wouldn't these things be appropriate in the handbook anyway?
Are you talking about the employee handbook?
Yes, yes.
This is not for the employees. This is
I
for
know
the
it.
city of Eskridge.
Shouldn't the city,
You can,
my understanding is that the CDB grant requires that the city have a policy like this, so if it's not for the employees, who's it for?
for the city, us, the board,
Only
the
for the city?
body.
Governing body and the officers.
Governing body only.
And the officers. So whether employees, some of the officers are employees, so.
Public officials and employees or agents of public purpose who hold office for the benefit of the public.
Now, geez.
Well, I want to do it right, Annie.
I'm complaining about the heat,
Okay,
not
I'm
you.
sorry. All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. All
So
right.
the door's letting the air in now.
So B, first sentence in B. So we can approve it, but it does include other than the council.
I guess the point I'm making is we don't need to edit the handbook. This is just policy for the city in general.
Continue.
So can I broadly?
I think so. You pull the Justin and just say you so moved.
Michelle, you seconded?
Okay, do the Todd. Justin. This is amazing.
We're gonna dance.
So glad this is on
The
camera.
two, just the two version of the goal.
It's a sign place. Elaine.
I thought you were trying to be John.
It's not baby face. That was mine.
I know.
I don't, I've heard it, but I didn't hear it, so I want it all repeated the way it's supposed to be said.
The motion is that the city council approves and directs the mayor to execute the Eskridge Code of Ethics, the Eskridge procurement policy, and the Eskridge Equal Rights
Procedures for civil rights.
Civil rights procurement procedures.
Okay.
I move.
Motion by
Seconded.
Brett,
Michelle.
seconded by Michelle. What Todd just said. Verbatim. I believe Lisa got that down in Pat to be in the meetings to fit through next meeting. Okay, that's fine. Any further questions, comments, concerns? Those in favor? Motion carries. Okay. Todd. Did you forget?
No, I got an email from the mayor.
You've had enough of your filibustering tonight.
Yeah, apparently the Kansas Corporation Commission's pipeline safety staff concluded an on-site pipeline safety inspection and pipeline and indicated 2 violations, which were produced in a letter to the mayor on March 7th, 2025. There were not areas of non-compliance or failures to properly promote public awareness under the applicable regulation, and also the record keeping of the operator shall maintain records that demonstrate compliance with having a proper officer available to provide that the person patrolling in 2024 was qualified to perform the covered task. So apparently that has been sent and not responded to.
And that question was sent to find out what we need to do to get that covered.
Okay.
That was the first I heard of it. Didn't know we even had an inspection in January. Have you
I
been
think we
looking
have
at
them
it?
every 2 years. It could be annual.
Well,
They changed things some since I was here before, but
Can you decipher the second of that for me?
well, no, not really. All I can say is the operator is the one responding. And are we the operator?
I think
Operator.
Mike's the operator would be my guess, and that's
Really,
why.
Tomlin.
And I can't. I mean, I don't know that we have a response other than what Mike has produced for us, because these are. I mean, these are basically something should have been done. Apparently, wasn't. Allegedly. Yeah, I mean, it's a notice of
So if
probable
Mike,
non-compliance.
if Mike did that, he would have a copy of the report. Is that what you think?
I mean, they came to sit, they met over at fire station, but the KCC inspector was here and met with Mike.
Says they notice of probable non-compliance.
Let's see, yeah, it says the title of it is probable non-compliance notice. What's on the notice? It's probable non-compliance. There's an investigation number.
So this sounds like somebody's going through records, and maybe the records aren't complete, so they need to go.
No, he came here and he said the time of inspection. Okay. The operator was unable to provide documentation indicating an effective evaluation of the program completed as required in the time interval stated in Chapter 8 of the operator's public awareness plan.
Okay.
Read the fine for non-compliance.
Fine for non-compliance is civil penalties maximum of $200,000 per violation per day, or maximum $2 million.
So have you gotten clarification from Mike on any of this to see what, because I don't understand it.
Are they talking about public awareness, those letters that we get from gas?
No.
I think it sounds like one of them was maybe public awareness, but.
This other one is at the time of inspection, the operator was unable to provide documentation indicating the individual performed patrolling duties in 2024 was qualified to perform the covered task. So I'm assuming that just means there's a person out there examining things or patrolling, reviewing lines.
It wasn't qualified.
That wasn't qualified to work gas lines. So.
Well, right now, Mike, tell me when it does gas lines around here.
Well, but I think Barry and
He's
Jim
qualified.
have to be qualified just to read a meter. They have to be qualified. They have to change a meter. They have to be qualified.
So I'm trying to figure out who the hell else would be out infecting gas lines.
Well, if Mike couldn't produce the documentation that maybe he didn't have Barry qualifications, maybe he couldn't find them. I don't know.
Well, I don't have any either.
He would be out by himself.
I don't know that the only thing I've got here is that, I mean, this letter was sent to you, Terry, on March 7th, it looks like. And then let's see that it was sent to anybody else. The email that was attached to this on March 27th was to you, somebody at KCC, and then copy Mike. So, I don't know if the guy gave him a report at the time of the inspection that said this was an error or this was a problem. This could be the first notice, and I guess that's the question, is Mike know about this?
And you said he did, right? Mike knows about this.
Knows about the notice?
I don't know.
Oh.
I mean, if you emailed him, or who'd you say it?
Well, Paul Owings, who's the KCC guy, on March 27th, sent this to you, like another 2 KCCs, and then it copies Mike Bone, Gas and Eskridge.
So he's aware of it.
Well, he's maybe if he got this email, he was aware on the 27th, but I just didn't know if he was aware on the 7th, so.
So he may already be in work fixing this, or have already fixed it. We have no idea. So we need to talk to Mike.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or we can ignore it and pay the $2 million fine when it comes up.
I'm down. Let's do that.
A month ago.
Today's 14th. I think it was more like, I don't remember when I sent it to you, Todd, but
Sent to me on the 27th.
on the 27th.
So a couple weeks, 3 weeks.
All right. Jason, you're next.
Okay, so I got a hold of Abby Amick and did a little research on mill levies. So I kind of understand how to figure that out. I know we had talked previously about an estimate, just a guesstimate. essentially covering the cost of a couple of sheriff's deputies, in their off-duty time as our city marshals. And just so everybody's aware, if we just depend on the sheriff's department cannot enforce any city ordinance. So if we have a city ordinance that we need them to enforce, the sheriff's department cannot do that. They don't have the authority to enforce a city ordinance. So if we wanted, right now, so if we wanted someone to enforce city ordinances, which we also need, then we have to have them employed by the city so that they would enforce city ordinances as well, which is one of the reasons that we were looking at contracting with the sheriff's department, because they have the equipment, training, insurance, and all of that stuff, and we essentially would just be paying overtime hours for those guys to work in their off-duty time. The estimate that we got for that was somewhere in the neighborhood of $30,000. The equipment, if we were to go out and create our own marshals, and we would have to buy a vehicle, just the radio equipment alone that goes in the vehicle and the sheriff has to carry, or the marshal would have to carry, is around 10 grand. Because it has to tie in with all of the emergency equipment that's already in use everywhere, and then it would have to be regularly updated to match those pieces of equipment when they get updated. Plus, then we would be responsible for insurance. So we had an estimation to start looking more into figures and a contract so that we have something hard to debate with and talk about with the sheriff's department and find out if all of those ideas still would work. If that would still be the way that we would do things, where they would provide the equipment and the deputy, and we would just basically pay their salary for the hours that they give to us.
No, he waved and said goodbye.
Okay.
It was just taking too long for him, so
I
maybe he can invite him back or something.
But talking to Abby today, I did learn how to figure out how many mills we would need to increase the mill levy. And it would be roughly 14.5 mills, would generate $30,000 at our current valuation, which, just as an estimation, if you have a $100,000 home, figuring out your tax value, it would raise your taxes $167 a year. A year. So that would be the cost to everybody in our mill levy area to generate $30,000 to cover the cost of a sheriff.
Unless you have a house that's 40,000, somebody with 100,000 is gonna have to make up for that.
No. So the valuation is the total value of all property in Eskridge. So the total value of property in Eskridge is $2,059,069. No kidding. So 1 mil is $2,059.07, give or take. So to generate $30,000, we would have to have about 15 mills. So 14.57 mills. Right now, we're at 45.865 mills.
Full-time cop?
No, it wouldn't be full-time. But I don't think we'd ever talked about having a full-time.
That'd be, yeah.
Yeah.
So this would be contracting with the sheriff.
Yes.
Not hiring them.
Yeah, we would basically be contracting with the sheriff, and they would fill our role as a city marshal.
Okay.
So then they would be authorized to enforce city ordinances. But like I said, we need to start working on a contract with the sheriff's department so that we can work out all the details of that to see if there are issues that may come up. Maybe we can't use all of their equipment. Maybe we do have to provide some stuff. Maybe we would be responsible for the insurance. Those are the details that we now would have to hash out and get final costs for, so that we know that yes, 30,000 was a good estimate, or it's 25,000, or it's going to be 50,000, and then we have to refigure everything from there. But the valuation that I literally got this afternoon, so that is what it would cost right now to generate $30,000 in cash to pay for that.
How many hours would that cover, do you know?
We don't. That's another thing we'd have to hash out.
Yeah.
I know they were talking about 20 hours a week or 20 hours a month.
But he had also said something about 80 a month too. So
Right. So, like I said, it's something we have to hash out. We have to figure out how all that works.
All right.
So
On the TV today, he was talking about Eskridge. If nobody got it, I got it. So it's on the TV if you want to see what I'm saying. The system that they started in Maple Hill, which is a full-time cop and a half-time cop, costs $33,000 a year.
After
And he would have answered all these questions that you have if we hadn't had so much to do tonight. But so you're real close on that. And the mill levy, the people that I've talked to, I explained the mill levy to them and told them to know their assessment on their property. Call Abby and she can tell them how much it would be once you guys.
I've got the formula for doing that too, so if they want to know. Yeah.
Yeah, Abby would probably appreciate having
She,
that contact.
yeah, she emailed it to me today, so I have her formula on how to figure that out. So
That's great.
yeah, up there.
Yours
I'll
seems
email.
higher. I mean,
That's the numbers that she gave me are the numbers from today.
I mean, the ones
So
we just
before-
previously quotes.
Well, that was figured. It went by the person's property, and each
That was
person
like
was
full-time or half-time
different.
and.
Right. The $100,000 is just an estimation for a $100,000 house, which the average price I think in Eskridge right now is something like $30,000.
I mean, just for example, like Marcia and Terry's house, the increased mill rate would have been $475.
Right.
Whereas
But for-
Michelle's house, it would just be an increase of $144.
But for how many
So-
mills? Because that's not all the
Yeah,
information.
I don't,
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying is this is quite a bit higher.
2 years old too, I don't, it's not real fresh.
I think you're I think you're inaccurate.
It's 2 years old.
Yeah.
Information needed.
No,
Yeah.
that information
Yeah,
I think is wrong. I
correct.
think that's why I asked people to call Abby and now they can call him if
I
they
guess
want.
I'm
the
asking,
formula.
do you know how many mills you were calculating? Because that's what's missing for
Without
this.
looking at that. I
Yeah,
don't
that's
know.
what I'm saying is I don't know what that is.
I think that was probably like 40 mils to
Okay.
afford like the first year.
And
With all
14
the
mills
equipment.
is what, like a quarter or a third of all the mills that we already have.
Yeah, we're at 45.686.
We'd be increasing the mills a third or more.
A quarter, right about a quarter.
So-
we go up to 60.
Are you open to looking into raising fees and stuff to generate this possibly instead of putting it on our citizens' back to increase our fees?
How about a combination?
Right. Which fees would we increase?
What's the other option?
Dock fees.
What are the other options?
I mean, we have structure fees and dock fees all around the lake, and they pay $15 a month for them. So if you create a structure over the next 5 years of increasing it $15 a year to get you up to that, I mean, we could generate close to $400,000.
You're going to have
could
to make
double
people
the
pay
lake
for our
fund.
top.
No, we're better utilizing our fees that we get.
What you're worried about is people that have a lot of extra property around town besides their homes and they're gonna be paying more mill levy for those? Is that what we're worried about?
I'm worried about how much taxes I already pay. I'd like to see a cop. I see one every day. But my house, I moved here, built it, probably built too much, but we had 5 kids. I don't need as big of a house now, but somebody else might want to come along and buy it, and we're gonna tack $400 or $500 more dollars in taxes on there. It's nobody's business if I already pay over $3,000 a year in taxes.
Right. But the question is, do you want a cop or not?
Well, I have one. He lives right down the street, so I'm a little different than everybody else. I get that. And whenever I call, he's there. So I understand. Yes, I'd love to have a cop. But I wish we could come up with a solution, but even we can't decide. Don't everybody have to vote on this?
So the mill levy, there's a debate about that. And Abby wasn't entirely certain, and that was another question.
It's over. I don't know if that changes last legislative session ever goes into effect.
I don't think it passed.
Okay, but if you do exceed the revenue neutral rate, you do have to have an election. Yeah, and I'm just saying, I'm guessing that I'm doing that because it's supposed to be a baseline, right?
Right.
So, even a 2 mil increase would probably be a vote. So, yeah, it'd have to be put to a vote.
And that
Which we
vote
were
would
supposed to
be
do
in
last year.
August. Pardon me?
We were gonna do that last year, but we didn't get this conversation going.
I think the mill levy vote would be during the August portion of it.
I think so.
election, and sales tax would be in November if we did that.
But we need to dig into it now so we can be.
Yes, I agree.
And the fees we need to dig into too. I mean, the mill levy is putting it directly on our citizens' back, raising our fees.
No, not quite. It's putting it on the property owner.
Property owners.
Not the citizens. There's a lot of citizens in this town
Oh,
that are
that's
not
true.
property owners.
That is true. You are accurate.
But they'll
So,
pay more rent to make up for it.
When,
That's what
when
I
dock
say. Other people
fees
disagree.
are a privilege out at the lake and they're being paid for by $15 a month, increasing that to something over a 5-year period to $100 to increase the revenue for the city by $400,000 is a wise decision. You could double the lake fund, you could budget authority more money into our general fund and have plenty, you could afford a full-time cop then. But nobody it always comes back to the 1% in the mill levy, which directly affects us here when we don't utilize our leased properties and privileges very profitably for ourselves.
I
And that's a
guarantee you,
fact.
I don't mind paying $150 a year for law enforcement out there at my place.
I
Tack
guarantee
it
you,
on
I
there.
guarantee you, Dolly.
But you're
It's-
against
what it
raising
is.
I
fees out at the
guarantee
lake,
you.
is that what you're saying?
I guarantee you, Dolly, that this will be on the ballot and let the public decide how they want to pay for it.
I had
So we
a,
can argue.
I had a, let's see, 50 people that were, hopefully just, did you throw that away? Anyway, I did a petition where it was self-tax or mill levy, which would you rather have? Most people said both.
Yeah,
They,
and
they didn't care.
I saw
understand.
that
I
list,
understand.
Dolly. Most of those people didn't even reside in the city limits of this town.
You know what?
It makes a
I hope
difference
it
too.
didn't
That
go
does
away.
make a difference.
But
Anyway,
But we're not even deciding the mill levies the way that we're going because you're just Xing out the
yes.
fee conversation still
We are
and
trying
wanting
to
to avoid it.
let's start trying to move forward.
So the next thing we really need to do is we need to get with the sheriff's department. We need to hash out what this is actually going to look like. We need in writing what the final product will be before we can even make a decision on how we're going to pay for it. Because if it's going to be, $50 a month and we're covered, we don't need to worry about anything. We cover that with the general fund right now. But if it's going to be $100,000, we can't afford that. So then we got to look at other options. So we need to get something to work with the sheriff's department, and we need to kind of do that in short notice. That way we have time to hash out all the details and get it on a ballot.
Do you know the due
If
date
we
for the
choose
ballot?
to go that way.
Either
I
way,
think it's
the sales
June or
tax or
July.
mill, we need to
Yeah, you gotta
get
get
moving.
that.
We have to have that contract regardless of how we fund it, so we need to know what our goal
Of
is.
raising structure fees.
We gotta get notice.
We have to have that goal to know where we can go. We don't have a dollar amount to even know if that would be enough
And some
to fund
days
this scenario. So he's right, we do need to have
thing.
the goal
And I'll tell you
first.
what, Mark,
Before we,
I've done the numbers. We know that we have enough if we raise the
I'm not
fees
sure.
for that.
I'm not arguing with you on that, but I don't necessarily like to put all my eggs in one basket either. There is a lot.
So,
If I can get the burden off of us here, that's always a
Second.
choice.
I researched.
I get that,
I got a
but
motion.
Yeah, you do.
we also want the law enforcement as well.
I got a motion.
yes.
Are we doing this there in council concern section? I don't want it.
Well, there's a motion on the floor, whether it was a joke motion or not.
It was not.
I mean,
There's a motion to adjourn and there's been a second.
Well, I had some things to let you know, but we could wait a half a month, I guess.
Okay.
Well, it's still time for conversation.
No, there's a motion, decide the motion.
I want to.
right.
No, I want procedure followed.
I do too.
Well, that's why I'm confused, because this is the concerns and comments.
Yeah, Tim moved to adjourn and Jason seconded.
You have information you'd like to speak about?
Now you have to vote on this, because the only thing you can discuss is
Can I rescind my second?
No.
That's not right at all.
Vote it down. You three, one vote, vote it down.
okay, those in favor of adjourning.
Oh, are we, do you still have
You're
stuff?
voting your heart. You're not supposed to look around and say, your hand went up.
Just
I
trying
don't
to,
know what the vote is. 2.
Well, it was 4.
I'm so
Why don't
confused.
you call the question again? What's, the motion is to adjourn.
Seconded
If
by.
you raise your hand, you want to adjourn.
Yes, there you go. So who wants to? Who's in favor of adjourning?
His hand was up.
Okay, then call the.
And who's opposing?
It fails.
Motion failed. Motion is to adjourn.
Thank you. I think that was a smart decision because we do have a campsite out at the lake that the cover needs to be fixed. And the buoys are not set yet. There are no fire pits on most of the primitive campsites, so either they need to be bought and put there, or the ones from the camper sites need to be moved down to the primitive. There are a couple of the trees that are still losing big limbs down by the primitive, so those need to be taken care of, and the rotten boards on the concrete.
What do you mean by a campsite that
Needs to
is
cover.
losing a cover?
I'm so
What are you talking
confused.
about? A campsite?
Electrical cover?
Yeah, the electrical cover is
Oh, the
broken.
electrical
It needs to be
cover.
fixed. That's what
You
I
just said a
said.
campsite.
LS to
You didn't say
cover
electrical.
fixed.
That could have waited till next week when we should have a lake meeting.
I was gonna ask that.
I wonder if
But people
all
are
of the
in
electrical,
campsites right now, so that would be a half a month. That's why.
I wonder if all the electrical sites got maintained like they're supposed to annually in the off season, where they get all the screws tightened up.
I wonder if these are conversations that should be had with the staff and not at the table. But that's just me. I
We
guess.
don't have an electrician as a staff member, do we?
Who's gonna let the staff know?
I didn't think so.
I don't know. I thought we had a leader for that.
Yeah, but unfortunately, as you guys are all aware, that these, I'm not gonna be careful, because I've told this in open meeting before. Mike does not respond to my phone calls or my emails, so who wants to talk to Mike and tell him to bring the staff in?
Well, nobody can but you. That's what Ty said.
I know that, so why isn't things getting done? What's next?
Anyway, just bring that to attention.
Where were the rotten boards from?
On the concrete dock, it's been like that for 3 years, but they're worse now. So when people bring their docks over there, they're just pulling up next to screws sticking out.
Failed once.
That's fair.
I'm looking
Either
at
one and four.
I second.
Motion by Jason to adjourn, second
Go
by
with Tim
Ann.
next time.
Those in favor?
I'm opposed.
Those opposed?
That'll be the day.
Red or report, I guess that you didn't answer. He's for it.
Not everyone.
I'm back here.
No.